do this, and then let's toss this in. Ivy. Where's my... There it is. Alright. So that should be working, technically. Technically. What screen did I have this on? I don't remember. Oh boy. Well, that is probably fine. Alright. We'll say that's good. Hi. Yeah. Random Thursday stream. Why? Temperature. Temperature. Oh. Slightly annoyed. Slightly annoyed. That's with the temperature today, or even like probably Sunday, which might be the last stream for the next week because the temperatures go way up. And then I get to figure out how to survive on Wednesday when apparently not gonna have power for 6 hours because they're upgrading stuff. Yeah. It's supposed to be 96 that day. We'll see how that pans out. Should be interesting. Never minding what the heck I'm gonna do without any power. Don't exactly have any new books to read. Don't really think I want to read ones that I have. Immediately available, at least. Phone will have some battery. I don't know if it's going to last 6 hours. I guess I could try and charge it in the car, maybe. So yeah, that's gonna be fun. That's gonna be fun. I'm curious. Alright, so I can refresh that. I think it's fine. I'll only know if you guys can hear, but there you go. Oh, hey, there we are. Yeah, okay, good, it's working. I was worried. It's connecting, disconnecting, connecting, disconnecting. It's technically been open for like 3 hours, so taking a bit of a risk with that admittedly. Probably should have refreshed it before actually starting the stream, but that's what I didn't think of. I was wondering, but I forgot. Anyway, hi. Don't mind me just ranting about the annoyances of next week in temperature and not having power on Wednesday because they want to update stuff because, you know, safety, I guess, or something. But it's supposed to be 96 degrees, so that's gonna be fun. And being bored. So you haven't really missed anything, realistically speaking. The video's done though, so there's that. I never actually watched the thread, I think. I get it. It should be fine. Guess I also forgot to check that again. Oh, Evie. I've decided I need to do even less editing intensive videos because I just don't have the patience for it. That and also do it in like GIFs, if that makes sense. Maybe like 15 minutes long each, and then a break, and then try to go back to it. Something like that. ADHD, am I right? Ice cream makes everything better. Unless you're allergic to that, you know, dairy component. Your milk. Then it's not. That's not great. Tastes good still, but it has consequences. short form content. I do want to do some of that. Not 100% sold on what exactly that looks like, but something. Rough idea, this is a very, very rough idea, is either like 2 shorts a week or a video. Is like the guaranteed get that done. Because I do have to get more used to doing stuff again. I'm aware. The annoying part is doing it with the other annoyances that pop up to waylay me there pretty much constantly. Just nice. But they're not gonna stop, so gonna have to figure that out eventually. But eventually rather soon. Without rushing it, which is the tricky part. But trial and error. And not being stubborn about things. Yeah, that would also... That, yeah, okay, I guess that also is part of it. But... There we go. At least now have... Let's see, Deadlock got an update. It's a matchmaking update with, I think, something else? I think some small changes. So that's a thing. I don't think it intrinsically changes a ton about the gameplay side of things, but we'll see. And then Waverly Classic, which if I do stream Sunday, I'll probably play Sunday if I don't do it today, which I'm... We're just gonna see how this goes energy-wise. So... yeah. Obviously, normally modern league, if you will. Anything else? Alright, and build 42 in a project standpoint, so I have options. I'm not gonna say it was just... I'm just gonna knock on wood and move on. Anyway. Yeah, do shorts until I feel better about editing more, then start pumping out videos faster. Kind of. For isn't it even logistics? I don't think logistics works in this context, but I wouldn't want to do just shorts content because first off, most of what I do doesn't really translate amazingly well to shorts because talking about things isn't great. So my particular style of doing things doesn't translate amazingly to a lot. At least the things that I did before. So part of that is finding something that works, but still keeps the general vibe, I guess, of what I normally do while it being a short. It's a little tricky, but I think it's doable. That, or like I said, editing in shifts, so that it's not just me trying to sit there for like 2 or 3 hours saying, okay, yep, I mean, my brain turned off like 2.5 hours ago because tedious, boring, not exactly super stimulating. I like doing it, mostly, but it's not exactly high octane. Or even medium octane. It's like barely low octane. So, it's better than watching paint dry. After like the first 10 minutes, it's better than watching paint dry. Before that, paint actually might win. Because at least it's moving. Not sure. I'll have to think on that one. But yeah, I don't know what mods I'd want to. I'd need to revisit Zomboid mods, because it's been a while. I wouldn't want to do stuff that adds too much in terms of computing load, I guess. So not stuff that wouldn't really impact performance too much in terms of like adding a bunch of different gun types or like really upping zombie levels or whatever, or something like that. I guess even technically mods that like made the AI smarter or work differently would maybe change performance a bit. So stuff like that I'd probably want to avoid, just so that I can make sure that I can record it without issue and never make stream it without issue. Which, one of those I'm pretty certain on. I'd be surprised if I can't record it with the model. Well, that's another story entirely. We'll see. But streaming tends to be more intensive system-wise, so I'm not 100% sure. It theoretically should, but well, we all know at this point that my PC is not exactly working up to its potential. So, yeah. In the interest of not causing unneeded stress and anxiety, I probably want to keep it on the lower end so that it sort of guarantees longevity and doesn't stress it overly much for me or the PC. We'll see how that goes. I think I've figured out mostly what I want to do in the ASMR side of things. Mostly. And then I also kind of... I do have this. More cooling? Yeah, see, about that, I'm really more limited by the temperature of my room, which I don't have AC, and I can't really get AC. Because like, even if I was... Yeah, we have like a wall unit, a window unit, I guess, which I could technically put in. But then if I put that in, then I couldn't stream with it on because it's still pulling power from the same circuit as my PC would be, which means that it would just shut off because it would trip the breaker. Because it's still too small. Never mind the wiring. Who knows what that looks like. Relatively in the fall. Yeah. Energy bills suck at the moment. Yeah. It's gonna be really great next week. Looking forward to it. I'd normally at least have the fan, but you know, if they turn off the power for 6 hours, can't really do that. So, alright, that's what I was doing. I have that somewhere, right? Like, do I not? I swear I had pictures somewhere. Have I not taken any with that color scheme in the model? I guess not. Okay. Well. Where'd my OBS go? There it is. Don't scare me like that, OBS. Oh boy. Yeah, no, double clicking on stuff. That's been fun. When I click on one thing, like, I don't know, a tab, and then it closes 2 tabs because it slides into place and it double clicks. It's like, love that. Love that. Every day I look over at my backup mouse, which hopefully works. Fingers crossed. And I'm more and more tempted. Oh, I haven't done this yet. Lol. Lamau even? It's okay, I don't think you guys got any notifications, so it should be fine. But we're now in streamer mode on Discord. Yeah. Surely I have some pictures somewhere. I've got to. I do not. I really don't, huh? Huh. How did I... Oh, that's Wuthering Waves. Okay. I mean, I can technically load the model. Do I trust it not to break? Maybe. I also don't remember what I have on it at the moment, now that I think about it. So it's probably not the best idea. I don't think it was anything that'd be problematic. Technically none of it's problematic. It's just is shy. And most of it, you could technically wear a bikini on YouTube. Not necessarily something I do. Okay, so now there. Yeah. Why are we meowing? But like anime meowing. Yeah. I had to have had it somewhere. I did. Huh. Well, that's news to me. I'll take your word for it, though. So I definitely don't pay attention to every sound that I make. Especially when I'm distracted, which this definitely counts. It's like barely. It gets an idea across though, so you know what? I'll take bears. Okay, we have this. I need this over to this, like that. Why is that so large? What? Hey, kinda. Okay. So, since this is apparently all I have readily available, you can kind of get an idea. You can kind of get slightly weird with this. What did I just click? No, what did I move? Okay, we'll move this. We'll lock that so I don't move that. Kind of? No, it's behind me. Okay, well, you get the idea. You get the idea. I'm not sure how different I want it to be. But the running thematic is, well, anime means lavender in Latin-ish, kind of. Because roses, different colors mean different things, that sort of thing, yada yada. But then they did an update with not OBS, VTube Studio, so I have a little more leeway on color. Now this okay, so the original idea is that you use something completely different for ASMR because it's its own channel. Nothing like literally all the other stuff that I do at the time, mind you. Because I was mostly just doing games, occasionally talking stuff in terms of just, well, you know, talking. So it's okay. Slightly fast. I'll give a sec. Okay. So the model that I use is technical. Okay, it's customizable. That was why I chose the one that I did, so that I could actually change the colors and whatnot to something that fit me better, which is this. I've no, I think I've used this color scheme since I started streaming. I did tweak the eye color a little bit recently to make it slightly more pale, but that is about it. Hair's been the same. Okay, well, I also tweaked the tail, which is why it is blinding and doesn't have as much detail, because it's technically not how they had it. But, I mean, I don't say lazy, but it's $25 for the pre-made model, so, you know, what are you gonna do? Fire in, obviously. But, you know, that takes more money. So, I was going with a different color scheme for the ASMR side of things, which is how you end up with the lavender-ish, taking some slight liberties here, eye color, and then it was using black hair because, like, the color palette that I could go with at the time wasn't great. Still not amazing, because how VTube Studio handles colors is not a color wheel, or even like a slightly, like a sliding bar option, or even like hex code. It's just 3 different bars, which you can slide the whatever you want to call it across. I don't know what you call the thing you click on. You slide that across, except it's not 0 to 100. It's different for each one, and for reasons. I don't know why it does it the way it is. It's annoyingly complicated and tricky to get the coloration you want. Hence why the shirt is a much lighter color, and the jacket is not darker. So, but now I'm not super sure, because obviously I do more talking related content, so there's more crossover. And I mean, heck, this channel's not even, it's called Blue Rose Odyssey now for the stream slash VODs slash gaming side of things. I guess that is the other thing I'd have to do, is come up with a different name for the channel itself. I think how much I want to change the look, though, because it could entirely be me being ADHD on, oh, that was the original plan, and then not wanting to change from that, but I'm sort of in my, like, it's my brain, so like I can't necessarily see everything that it's doing in terms of hyperfixating on stuff, because I just notice what I notice. That's why I usually have multiple people on important projects and whatnot, but yeah, that's the other thing. What are the rules? I guess technically was there one that was specifically slow is smooth, smooth is fast? Right. If you want to go into like carpentry sort of thing, it's technically a similar saying. Like, carpentry is measure twice, cut once, right? Because you have the material you have, you can't uncut the material if you don't get the right length. Slow is smooth, smooth is fast is a military saying, which I first saw in Act of Valor, the book, I think it was. Also in the movie, but you know, I think I read the book first. So there's that. Basically means go as quickly as you can while doing it correctly, is the gist. So while I have a tendency to rush ahead and try and do more things, I do need to keep in mind, like you said, to take things at the pace that I can. We'll see. But those are future plans for the most part. Eric Stream, thank you. I mean, hey, it's been decent so far, so you know. If we go the whole can start as you mean to go on thing, which I don't actually have a ton of control over, I have some control. Not, you know, a monopolization of it or anything, like, you guys are also part of it. So, if it gets down to me monologuing, that is the nice thing with games, is you have the game that's kind of a constant. The game itself doesn't run out of energy, doesn't run out of ideas. It's just a game. You play it. It's much simpler. Why is there... Is that the sun reflecting off my hair? Is there like actually a fuzzy? I think it's gone. Oh, oh, there it is. Anyway. I don't think I want to know what the model is doing the entire time. I think I'm okay. I think I'm fine. But yeah, so. As far as the other personas, may be a weird way to put it, but it even is like true to life. It's like kind of like that, no? Yeah. As far as that goes, I think I'd want some differences because it is like a different vibe as far as the ASMR side of things would be to this. This is much more casual. That I fully intend to... I don't know why it's different in my brain, writing a script for a video versus writing a script like a normal script. Don't ask. I don't know. I don't have any reasonable explanation for why those feel completely different, but it just does. I say that, I haven't tried it yet, so maybe it's still the same issues, but I think with something that's meant to be a bit more... Not scripted, there's another word for this. Performative, maybe? That has a different meaning now. More of a performance than, well, casual chatting, back and forth discussion sort of thing. For whatever reason, that works slightly better with my brain. Which should also make things slightly easier on the front of, then I can record like sections, and I can be like, okay, this is the line where I stopped, and then I went on to this one, and then it makes it a little less complicated on the recording side of things, because it doesn't need to be in one recording itself. I can just chop them together. So that's nice, potentially. I don't have a set time on when I want to do that. Soon-ish, but that's the thing, like, I'll kind of try and do too much and then burn out slightly and then do less for a bit, and then I start feeling better, getting more creative, and then keep trying to push ahead. It's the tricky part. Don't exactly have a leash, not looking for one. Okay, clarification. Not looking for one. This is a metaphorical leash, okay? Just saying. Tossing it out there. Yeah. You gotta take things slowly. I would counter with take things at a controlled pace. Don't rush, but don't drag my feet either. Either one is great. What I'm getting at is, of course, in moderation. Yeah, take things in moderation. You could have seen us reaching that topic again. That's crazy. How did we get to there again? That's wow. That's wild. I've never talked about that before. No. Actually, something of an extremist. Interest. Yeah, it's interest. I don't know. I've never really looked up what that means. Oi. I accept the first part of the sentence. I guess the first sentence, not the first part of that sentence. The first sentence. Moderation is not overrated though. I, however, do use a slightly different idea behind a moderation than most people do. I don't see moderation as the middle. I see it as it changes depending on what you're doing. For instance, if we take the coffee example, I still haven't finished my tea from this morning. Somehow. Somehow. But you can't drink too much coffee. It's, yes, yeah, different when you're younger. Happy for you. Happy for you. But past a certain point, which isn't as late as you think it is, especially if you're not exercising as much, or at all, it tends to make things more complicated. You can only have so much. You gotta make choices. So, moderation is not 50-50 or like the 50% mark. It's the stopping at the point where it becomes you can't do it anymore, or it's either not having as much of a benefit or it starts having negative impact. Which caffeine realistically doesn't do as much for me anyway beyond to make heart beat fast. It does not make my brain wake up in any way, shape, or form. The only reason I drink a coffee and now matcha tea in the morning is because it's more dense than water. Otherwise I just drink normal tea. What does that even mean? I just drink other teas that aren't matcha, which I guess, is matcha just considered a normal tea? Is that like a thing? Because it's a powder, right? But like you just steeping tea leaves in water for traditional tea? But matcha is pretty... This is not important. I am... Nope. No. This doesn't have an end. This really doesn't have an end. It's probably going to come up again at some point. Anyway. Too much caffeine is a myth created by big water. Two questions. First, what exactly is big water in this context? Because you got some options, okay? Like, I'd say maybe it used to be Arrowhead. I have no clue who it is these days. But so who's big water? Two, why the heck would big water care? Big water would be like, you just drink. Oh, I guess I kind of see that. They just say drink more water to balance it out. That's not how it works, by the way. It's a chemical reaction. Technically, caffeine is a drug. So, you know, I'm just saying. I guess technically sugar is also a drug. But, you know, it depends on how you look at things. Big water corporations. Okay. Expanded question. What are the current big water corporation? Look, I don't know. I drink a tap water, not specifically by choice, okay, but you know, it's free. We can. They're trying to make us stay hydrated. If you're thirsty, then drink more coffee. Counterpoint. That sounds like something that A, Big Coffee would say, B, Big Water would actually say, because if you drink more coffee, you'll be thirstier and then you'll just keep drinking more water. They want to sell the product, okay? I'm just saying. Like, this seems more like something that Big Water would say than Big Water that you say would say. Then you say Big Water would say? And then you say Big Water would say. Yeah, that. Also, then what about Big Tea? Big Coffee supports us. I'm pretty sure Big Coffee and Big Water go hand in hand, not only because coffee would make you thirstier because it dehydrates you, the diuretic. B, you need water to make coffee. Yeah, well now. They have our backs compared to those wretched water companies. If we're gonna talk about things that are like having their, I'd figure at, if anything, Big Water is playing Big Coffee and a Big Tea and a Big Soda because they need water for all of those. Like, Big Water is living it up. If anything, it'd be finding a way to make water less hydrating so you have to drink more of it or something. Not an idea, but it doesn't, that doesn't function, that doesn't work. Okay, it's water, it's H2O. We're trying to avoid cyberpunk levels of dystopia. Thank you. In fact, nowhere near that, actually. I'm good. It all may just be a government. It may all just be a government conspiracy. Thank you, brain. Holy. Maybe? Kind of? I mean, the government's basically run on coffee, so like they'd definitely be in Big Coffee's camp. The government is what yeah, but they do that because you need it to live, okay? The human body is made up by a large percentage of water. You need more of that. They can't get their money if you're not alive. I'm just saying. At least they can't get as much if you're not alive. The 5G brain controlling chips are all in drinks. So the first and obvious question is, how does a brain controlling chip being in water, or any liquid for that matter, work? It would need to make its way to or stay near the brain, no? I personally don't like shove the bottle all the way to the back of my throat. That's be a very weird talent if you do. definitely some crossover opportunities for you, but I don't. Sounds very uncomfortable. Other than that, I don't see how you'd get a chip to stay there, and that's the closest I can get by going in through your mouth. I mean, like, you could, like, kind of cough it up if you aspirate water. If you somehow get water into your nasal cavity, then, like, that's closer, I guess, but... I'm just saying. They're nanobots that dig all the way to the brain and tries to tell us what kind of consumer habits to participate in. But they just do that with ads. That's why they spend so much money on ads. It's much less complicated and less likely to get them into both legal and civil trouble. People wouldn't really enjoy knowing that, you know, they're literally putting stuff inside of them that they don't ask for. Why do that when you can just use psychology to basically mind control through ads? I'm saying, they already do it. Why do they bother coming up with catchy music and phrases and all of that stuff? I mean, if I were to say Subway, what is the first thing that comes to mind? Huh? Huh? I can wait. That's fine. So first off, I know I'm right. Second. Okay, well, it failed there. I guess no one watches TV anymore. I haven't actually seen a Subway ad in a long time. The correct answer was Eat Fresh, by the way. Every company jingle, that's the point. Every phrase, all of it. The entire point is to get you to think about their product before the ones who can't pay for a bunch of advertisements. It's funny to see your stream title today, as I sent an application that not only add far too much to your already full plate for the foreseeable. I don't see how that applies except for change. There's only so much time in the day. Like, you can only adapt to so much. I'm just saying. Also, hi Joker, but like, I'm just saying. Also, when are you like getting your other channel set up? Also, when, you know, I'm just saying. Am I gonna put it in the corner of my videos? Subway servers? Probably not. I don't even know where to get Subway servers or footage for it. So I had an idea. I did have an idea to like pick a topic and then just go through the internet and see what comes up with it or something like that. Because then I can just record and whatnot at the same time, and then it might be slightly more complicated on the editing side in terms of like where to put cuts and whatnot, but that's just trial and error, so that's the same as always. Work out the kinks and fix the recording mod for the videos. What is the Joker content? Technically never. Does he mean the content made by him? In which case... Okay, that's like a low bar as to like I've released content on my main channel. That is a successive number of videos saying, hey, I figured out what I want to do now. And then months later, hey, I figured out what I want to do now. I've refined what I thought I wanted to do. And so on and so forth. So, like, there was an argument for the video that went out today on this channel going out on my main channel. But it just didn't quite fit. So it didn't. Filming the episodes, editing the videos, and then doing the voiceovers for them. Oh boy. Oh boy. Yeah. As I was saying earlier, recently discovered probably have to do editing in shifts, because if I try and edit it all at once, my brain turns off, which is not super helpful. And I'm trying to like pay attention to specific parts of it and figure out what to do in terms of cuts or like what edits to add. Which going to be limiting because like, but yeah. Know your limitations and whatnot. Just a matter of, that's the same one. Okay, cool. I was thinking of the change was the title of the video, right? That was the title of the video. The stream is no, okay, never mind. It makes more sense. That's my bad. Oh boy. You're at the next part of your campaign, finish your commander deck, and get it squared away for the tournament you voluntarily enter. Charlie, yell at him. Yell at him, Charlie. It's only fair. There is no commonality that could possibly explain why both of us tend to try and do way more than we probably should. It's not in the tags. It's not. It's not. It's not. Don't. Can you even check? I don't know if you can check without the extension. What the hell even are my tags? No, it's not in like the first three, so it wouldn't be there. The thing you played for today was oh my. Look, if you're gonna pick a subject, IT cybersecurity is incredibly marketable. So good choice. But where the hell are you finding time to do that? It's too much? Yeah, it probably is. At the very least, you'd need to roll out what you're doing. So like you're already doing the commander's deck and the next part of the campaign. Like planning stuff for videos. Like at the very least, you need to like wait till it's slotted into the routine so it doesn't take as it's still gonna take effort. That's a lot of stuff. But things get easier to do the more that you do them. Me with editing. And streaming, I guess, technically. But yeah. To be fair, the more you're in a good spot mentally, the more you can do because the more energy you have to burn. So there's that. Work in progress. But I'm getting there. I just sleepless. I don't think that's not what that means. There's like a minimum amount of sleep that you need to like maintain long-term health and longevity. I'm just saying. I will bug you about it. I will. Don't think that I won't. I will. 100%. I'll make videos about it. Totally. I'm now realizing this is a commonality of ADHD. At least I know that I got my ADHD from my mother, honestly. So there's that. Sleep is overrated. You're not wrong. Kind of. It's really necessary, but also it would be nice if I didn't have to, because there's so much more that I could get done. Like, resting your eyes for an hour or two a day, totally down with that. But like, why do we need like 5+ hours of sleep? We can probably like 6. We can kind of get away with 5. Even though I've built a website and help her get stuff scored away for her new business. Photography forts! Huzzah! I hate to break it to you. There's physically no way to fit all of that into your day while also having a job. Like, videos wouldn't be every day, obviously. Okay, that just wouldn't work in the first place, but... like, depending on the time frame, it's either very, very crunched or impossible. Because, like, at a certain point, you'd have less time to work on, like, campaign stuff or videos, or... I guess the deck's kind of a short-term thing, so I don't know if that really counts. But... the photography thing's probably going to be more intensive than just getting stuff set up. Just got a feeling. Oh, no phones for that one. That's good at least. But editing takes a lot of time. Thinking of campaign ideas and writing them all out and setting everything up for a D&D campaign takes a lot of time. You need to at least set some time aside to actually have fun. Trust me, if you just play the game for doing the video recordings and it's super crunched, isn't gonna be fun. Been there, done that. You need at least a little bit of time to like actually do fun stuff. Oh. That said, it's technically doable. Just definitely more than I could do at the moment, but monster adult play money. What do you mean by that? Depression? Got that too. Live close enough to sketching paper. Don't do drugs, kids. Just saying. Bad. We're back now. What? I leave for like 2 minutes max. And we reach the conclusion of drugs good in moderation. No. Bad. Bad. Anyway. So just sit down and almost schedule this out and see if it's feasible. Yeah, that would probably be a good idea. It's generally a good idea, realistically. Okay, but I don't do that. It's... Anyway, I don't do that. Wait, listen. Oops, listen. They're bad than mind drug doctors also take them sometimes because sometimes they're useful. Arguably, it depends on the doctor. Some of them overprescribe medication. And also, technically, if you want to get into it linguistically, medication is, for medical reasons, assigned to you by a doctor. Drugs is the stuff that you'll go to jail if you're using incorrectly, but some medication can also technically be drugs if you're not prescribed it and using it with authorization from a doctor saying that you need it and allowed to have it. So, there you go. Your therapist told you to start drinking again? What? The heck did this happen? And yeah, technically a therapist is a doctor, but those are, you know, different fields. Technically, there's like, I mean, there's a lot of different types of doctors, first off. Okay. Actually, could therapists prescribe weed? Is that a thing they could do? Maybe. I don't know. Depends on what state you're in, I guess. Not important. It's not important. But... Mr. Boost is the greatest. Nah, I'm gonna go with no on that one. Like, it's fine, used responsibly, but personally not really my thing. ADHD. I already know I have an addictive personality. Good stuff. But like, you can also not use it if it has negative effects, generally speaking. I'm weird, but maybe some therapists would be worried about being able to just decide not to do things just because why. But I just deny myself things that I want to do because. But ADHD autism, it's an interesting mixture. Let's just put that. Maybe we should like work towards becoming the mentalist. That could work. Yeah. Or a mentalist. They went to the party store to get a monster. The party store? What? I don't know what that means, and it concerns me. The clerk was listening to some... What the hell did autocorrect do to your sentences? Oh, listening to some guy vent. Never mind, I'm just stupid. Guy talked to him. He became your therapist. Yeah, so you wanted any booze. Have you revisited the idea of, like, telling the random shenanigans that happened in your life in, like, a podcast or something? Because you've got a future there. Like, there's potential. I'm just saying. I'm just saying. Something's Borg, that's all you. Oh boy. Benefit of not really leaving the house. Less shenanigans. Downside of not really leaving the house. Arguably less shenanigans. Like, I don't know, that one kind of goes both ways. There's definitely less content potential for, like, stream stories or something. Fit into the craziness. Yeah, that does not surprise me in the slightest. See, at least that sort of thing. It depends on what you want to do with it, obviously. You could literally just record and then not really edit, but then that requires putting a little more forethought into it so that it's formatted better, I guess. Streamlined slightly. Me personally, I tend to have a bunch of long pauses, which sometimes work, sometimes don't. So a lot of the time I spend editing is hunting those down and figuring out what spacing and timing is better. Yeah. Nice. At least you're in the car now, so like you don't have to deal with the smell. There's that. The delightful mental image then. Oh no. See, that's another point in the not really leaving the house column. I'm just gonna say, that's kind of nice. That said, we do need to do more in the front yard because wild lettuce, I guess? I don't know. And then yellow jackets apparently like that, so now we have to find their nest, which is great. Loving it. It's the end of the world. You have no lotion. You just got done shaving your legs again. Oh no. Oh. I mean, I know the world might be slightly, like, dramatizing it, but, like, that's definitely not great either. My condolences. I'm concerned to ask for his legs, obviously. But for the legs, that's... what do you mean? What else? I don't know what you mean, Joker. That's what else would you use lotion for? I wasn't concerned in the first half of the sentence either. So, like, what else would you be concerned? Like, I'm just saying. I don't know. It was very weird of you to bring up. Now look what you've done. Now the sentence just looks sus. This is your fault, Joker. This is your fault. For the record, I have no aspirations to be the next Project Melody, which there probably already is, so like, you know, the next iteration of that. Not really my thing. I make jokes though, so, you know. But I regret to inform you, I do properly pronounce the word bagel. Just the other parts of the language I mess up. So, which one is better? You tell me. Okay, Joker. You drink water. Also, Joker, you literally are me. You were. Do we need to like list off how many inconveniences and injuries that you had to put up with? I think your standards are different. Just a smidge, just slightly. You might have a higher tolerance for basically everything. You don't need more giving her bait. To be fair, I don't think she counts as bait. She's like technically the real thing, so like I don't know. But yeah. Look, I'm not exactly a Victorian lady, but you know, everything in moderation. I really hate the like everything in moderation, like the balance thing you do like your hands, literally just 6-7. It's very annoying. On the upside, you can't see if I ever do it because I'm not 3D, so there's that. Pushing past my body's limits and then not realizing my body's limit. That doesn't either. Never mind. Yeah. That's usually why, like, when flying, they take like 20% more fuel than they think they're gonna need, by, you know, up by their calculations. Things happen. So, you know, I'd say if you're insistent on being mostly dehydrated, like, you know, maybe, no, bad. Maybe, like, higher level of water content in your body. Just higher baseline, you know. Like, dry mouth is one thing. If your skin's dry and is, like, if you pinch your skin and it doesn't have good elasticity, that's, drink water. Slowly, because at that point you're really dehydrated. But drink water. But you know, I mean, arguably, if anything, that would be the Ione side of things, which I may or may not just use Vexing Vixen for because it works. I maybe could think of something better. I don't know if it's worth thinking of something better, because, like, at a certain point, a name is good enough. Facing perfection, not exactly the most worthwhile use of your time. 90% of it, the time. I don't know how to get past you on this. I didn't even realize it. Oh boy. I'm gonna get someone else that had collapsed. Yeah. I'm like ADHD, kind of an expert at not drinking enough water. Not on purpose, mind you, but because I just forgot to do it. I think I still remember one time where, when I was a lot younger, which is even worse arguably, and I had to go to the emergency room because I was so dehydrated. I specifically remember throwing up apple juice, which apparently apple juice is better for hydrating you. Well, technically juice is better for hydrating you, but you also need one which like doesn't upset your stomach because your body's out of whack by a lot because you're so dehydrated. It's very funny. By funny, I mean confuddling. Befuddling. But at a certain point of dehydration, you can't drink too quickly or you just throw it back up and you don't actually, what's it called? Not digest the water. Absorb the water. Right. So that's fun. Which reminds me, I have my water here. A very big fan because I hate needles. There you go. Another reason to not get dehydrated. Other than the high medical costs that are accrued by having to go to the emergency room to deal with that. Although these days you could go, what are they called? It's like a, it's not the ER. It's like basic funny because we're like going back in time almost, but it's like, oh god, are they at the start of Ripperdocs? Anyway, like the not doctor's office, but not the ER. It's like a thing between. I can't think of the name. I'm blanking. But yeah, it's not fun because then you do have to get saline solution into your injected directly. Otherwise, you don't actually intake any fluids. Not great. Pardon? I begging your finest pardon. What? 3 in 30 minutes. That's not how that works. I regret to inform you that's not how that works. If I had a gamer sub sponsor, this would be a great time for the non-caffeinated version. Except you could also have too much B12, so like... It's kind of funny the amount of things that are good, like, in smaller amounts, but if you have too much, they become toxic. But they're good for you, but if you have too much, they're toxic. Very interesting. By which I mean awkward. Alright, yeah, you did do that. I don't know if having to go to the ER because you drank 5 monsters an hour that you're having a heart attack is better than dehydration. They're both technically self-inflicted, alright? Technically. Realistically, like, you can accidentally get dehydrated by just not drinking enough. You can't accidentally drink 5 monsters in an hour. That's not how that works. Anyway. Straight with them? Well, that's good, at least. Caffeinated version of the sponsor? I feel like... No. Arguably, you could squeeze in both if you really wanted to, but, you know, I don't know if it's a humanitarian, but it would be a good counter to the, you know, look, you don't need a bunch of caffeine, you just need enough. Technically, if you are hydrated, you generally need less caffeine, okay? Because your brain actually works better. So if you don't feel like caffeine and you're fine with water in the morning, having a cold glass of water can actually help you wake up faster. Lo and behold, your body is mostly made of water. You need enough water. Maintaining enough water means you'll perform better at whatever the hell you want to do. Just saying. This is a do as I say, not as I do moment. Yeah. Matcha. Matcha tea. Good. Which I'm not gonna ask what happens if you have no food in your stomach and you get morphine. I don't think I need to know. I'm pretty sure I already know because I feel like I've been told this before. Not that my memory is incredible, but you know. The cans were defective. They kept getting empty. Sure. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Focus on like a game or something, you can just go through a lot of monsters. Okay, like, I hyper focus as much as the next girl with ADHD, but you know, I still notice. If anything, I'm like, I either don't notice that I don't have it, or I notice how much I've gone through of whatever I'm drinking. That doesn't mean I always remember to get up and grab water between games, if for something like League or whatever. But, you know, how did we get to enema? How did this topic ever reach enema? What do you mean? But no, caffeine technically doesn't. Oh, that's how we reached. Okay, this makes not a lot more sense, but it does make more sense if that makes sense. It shouldn't, but it could. Inject caffeine. Suppository caffeine. Would that even work? It would get into your bloodstream. It would probably be way too high a dose. Because it's more efficient absorption, if I remember correctly. I'm not looking up how suppositories work. You know what? I actually think I'm fine. Agree to disagree. Agree to disagree. It's a good thing that I already have all of my stuff labeled as not for kids. Or not targeted towards kids. Oh boy. You'd think it would be the, like, gore and games and whatnot, but no, apparently it's talking about suppositories and butt-chugging monsters, because, you know. The body craves more caffeine. It really doesn't. I don't even notice having caffeine. Other than negative effects when I have too much. That's it. That's the only time. Two degenerates in chat? Yeah. Who knows if two is better than or worse than more like, I don't know. What's worse? Like 30 degenerates or 2 degenerates? Because like, I feel like at a certain point, I'd just be kind of experiencing chat and like watching you guys. But like, you know, it's really readable. It's not moving super fast. So like I'm forced to experience it with you, if that makes sense. I'm here in the moment, and the moment's concerning and confusing, but it is a moment. It's definitely a moment. So to clarify, we've gone from adjacent, like Unintended innuendo. Haha. Funny masturbation joke. To suppositories and butt chugging. To just generally not like me, but fair. But this is, I'm gonna be honest, this is not where I saw the stream going. I don't know what you'd normally have to talk about to see it going there, to be fair, but I did not have that on my bingo. Also, yeah, maps. What? Oh, right. You feel like it's a mystery, truly. It's a mystery. Yeah. They're from morning to closing. Concern? I forget. I can't remember if you said you were in the military or you tried joining the military. One of the two. Went there for the duck walk in your undies. I don't know what that means. I'm afraid to know what that means. Right, got thrown out of boot camp after 2 months. Why is my trash bags that I actually fit the trash can? This is annoying. Anyway. Yeah, I'd either do that or excel. One of the two. I don't know. Depends on if I was interested or not. Don't do amazing with people yelling or with being told what to do at times. Kind of a strict schedule in boot camp. I know, crazy. No one, like, you probably never knew that. Yeah. A room full of dudes on their knees and make them walk around crouched, low to the ground. Okay, fair enough. And weird flex, but alright. Done already? Send. If I joined the Air Force, I would have been done already before I got thrown out. Okay, I think I got that. That eventually made sense to my brain. I don't know why it didn't make sense in the first place, but say la vie. What'd you do with me? The more you know. I appreciate the attempt. I don't know that it's better. I mean, depending on what you like, that's either like an interesting thought and intriguing or just weird. I'm in the weird camp, honestly, but hold hands and recite the or the jingle. I don't even know it's true anymore. I'm just here for the ride. Yeah. I'm just here to observe. Make commentary. You know, the usual. Ugh. I can't even think of a reason for that. I'm gonna be honest. I imagine it's not just for shits and giggles, but it could also just be for shits and giggles. So, like, who really knows? Are you allowed to apologize to all future and current viewers? By all means. I don't think it's the worst thing ever. I'm just saying, there are more degenerate VTubers and general streamers out there, so like, I'm just saying, like, could be worse. It's nothing they haven't seen before, or more of, technically. Maybe literally. Is it check your hips or something? Okay, but like, how many repetitions of the JG Wentworth jingle would that be then? Out of curiosity. So, like, I'm not a doctor, but I'm trying to like figure out how, I guess depending what they're trying to check, which I have no clue, not a doctor, medical or otherwise. Pretty mild in your streams? Yes, it's because you're rather shy. I can also be shy, but I also have less of a filter. Still kind of shy, but maybe self-conscious is a better term. I don't know, but definitely less of a filter. Mono for 2 lobby days? Not even close, though. Oh, those. I don't think the Wild West describes those. Like, people look at modern games and what's said of them and they deal with, and like, that's toxic, and it's like, oh, sweet summer child. Oh, sweet summer child. You have no idea. Oh, kids can be shits. They can. I guess 4chan's always been 4chan, so like I don't really know. It's hard to imagine 4chan being better. I feel like 4chan is just 4chan. It just is. I was select game nights in private German talk. At least he's enjoying his job. I don't have any other response for them. I'm only shy in person, and it is wonderful. I don't think I change a lot in person, to be honest. Like, I'm generally shy before I get to know you, and after that, it's just too late for you. You're already in, so like, sorry. Staring into guys like she's doing Modern Warfare 2. How did that go for her? Basketball. That is your fault. All you had to do was not poke the bear and like level a challenge, okay? That was your fault. You did it to yourself. I'm just saying. There's somebody feeling alright. People are malicious. Yeah, they were. They still kind of can be, but there's more systems, and generally it's more normalized, and so more people use it. And so whereas back in the day, It was a new thing used by less people. It's now an older thing used by more people. If that makes sense? Right. He's still a bully? Lies. But this is false. These are false accusations. This is friendly ribbing. That's very different. Banter, if you will. Yes, I am. And you know, when I said it was going to become a running bit and I knew it would be back, I didn't think it would A, be immediately next stream, and B, reaching the next level. Maddie? Ah, Maddie's still bullied. I'll never really notice, I'm gonna be honest. But I guess she was mostly bullying you then, huh? Well, you and Sean, I guess. Maddie's input. I want you to look at the sentence you just typed and think of any possible other connotations that could have. I'm just saying. It is technically more of like a cyberpunk slang thing. But I'm just saying. Also, hi Banks. Have fun with your nap. How long have you been napping? You were napping when you got home from golfing like 3 hours ago-ish. You said. What? He's gone probably, but like, I needed to voice the question. It'll be there in the VOD. Someone will see it. Won't matter, but you know, that's actually just entirely irrelevant. Anyway, ADHD. Did I say the problem with your wording? Well, it took an hour nap. Still eepy. So you're waking. You took an hour nap, and then you're taking another. I think you're saying you're taking another nap. I think. Seriously. That's because you were kind of a man whore. By kind of, I mean, well, more than kind of. But you got better. Need 20 more minutes? Is that how that works? I don't really do naps, personally. So, I cede to your judgment. Also, foxes are better. Or at least as good. I hate how much it fits, because like he plays golf. Like that's exactly what you would expect. Because he's not, you know, geriatric and retired. He just likes golf. I feel it feels more highbrow than other sports, is my point. Most people don't. Well, first off, golf's expensive because the clubs technically. I think some courses. It's technically a compliment, or rather, an observation. It's not a negative thing. I said not geriatric, right? I said not. But like, if you were to think of who you would normally call chat daddy, right? Or just generically daddy, then what would they play sport-wise? Like I'm just saying. I'm just saying. I'm not profiling. I'm just saying there's a correlation. That's all. It fits. It's only negative if you think it's negative, in which case, I don't know. Making it challenge. Okay. Okay. You know, that's between you and your PC and whenever your wife. Yeah, how would she feel about that? Because I feel like she wouldn't like that overly much. Or she'd find it hilarious. One of the two. I'm not sure. Worst sport to sell? Yeah. Golf is definitely one of those things that is way more fun when you play it. Or you have to really, really like chatting and like you just somehow go along in the golf cart, but then you still have to pay because like there's people that would otherwise just share like a bag, like I don't know, maybe. Depends on where you go. And probably dying. Yeah, that's kind of what I figured. I wouldn't expect Maddie to disagree. Hispanic women are the best. My entire chat. We found another data point. It's Hispanic women. I don't know how that happens, but it happened. So we have some sort of connection to the military in some way, shape, or form, or blue collar. And then we have some sort of connection to D&D or D&D-like activities, Riot products, or competitive shooters. Those are like tag shooters, and apparently Hispanic women. I don't know how those are all connected, but apparently they are. No, too afraid. It could be related. That is a concern. It's a unique concern in terms of most people don't run into it, but if they did, then it would be a concern. Huh. Great grandmother has 13 kids, and everyone had 5 kids after that. Oh boy. Yeah, if your family still lives in the same city or town or whatever, I could see how that would maybe potentially complicate things. You know, there's the usual list of things that you'd like come up when you're looking to date somebody. Usually it's not blood tests, at least not for that reason. Usually it would be like STIs or something. They're called STIs now, right? I think. Like great state of that checks out actually. I'm just saying Ohio has a reputation. I don't know why it has the reputation, but it definitely has a reputation. Speaking many Hispanic women in my city. My condolences, I guess? Does that work? I think. May I see a birth certificate and family tree before this goes any further? If you want to go with the stereotype, yeah. I don't know how accurate that really is. It's obviously a more well-known one. Kind of like, I wonder if it's sort of like Asian driving, or it's not necessarily they're bad at driving, Asians that is, but the rules are different. As I think I mentioned that before. The rules are definitely different when driving in Thailand. Very different. But I don't know. It's like there's like one area where it's more true than otherwise, and then it gets generalized. I don't know. There's a lot of different things that could be true, and my brain loves going through them. It's sometimes entertaining. Other times it's more like, please, can we get onto a different topic, brain? But no, it wants to find answers. I usually find answers. Just like crazy people in general. Weird flex, but okay. Fair enough. Huge fan of family in the South. You're getting kind of big. It feels less accurate to a point. Yeah, not gonna argue that. Not going to argue that. I mean, this is kind of just true with most stereotypes. There's at least a kernel of truth, and sometimes they're just generally true. Not always, though. Depends on where. They kind of change. It's sort of weird. They change on like where you hear them from, who they're about, yada yada yada. There's layers, and it's sort of interesting in the same way that conspiracies are interesting. Because it's like, how did it come to be? I don't know. That one's a little more obvious, admittedly. But I get started somewhere. It's intriguing. It was all over the place. Witnessed to pretty much all of it. Also happy for you. Congrats. It's not as straightforward to shave your legs as most people think it is. Technically, waxing is more efficient, but it's also significantly more painful. I don't know if I could do that. Do if they look familiar enough. It's a sliding scale. I can see that more of like a body shape thing. Valid. Ow. I wish I could put the armrest down further, but I can't. I shaved it the wrong way. If I remember correctly, you're supposed to go with the grain of the hair. Been a bit since I looked that up. I've heard. I tend to confuse it, but I'm pretty sure you're supposed to go with the grain of the hair. Whereas most people think you're supposed to go the other way. But technically, if you go against the grain, then you're more likely to get ingrown hairs. So I'm pretty sure it's with the grain of the hair. Looks like a battlefield very bloody. Oh. Ow. C'est not pas bien. It does the kill though. It does the skill like any other. I don't think. Generally, shaving gel is a little better. But yeah. Chat, today's been a wild roller coaster of topics. You can say that again. That is true. Many a potential content opportunity, depending on how degenerate we want to be. By we, I mean me, because I'm the only one who could actually clip it. Haha. See? Yeah. Take it up with YouTube. I don't know. It's supposed to be a feature. But I don't know when they added that feature, so it might just be rolling out still. I don't know. YouTube does YouTube things. I don't know. I have no intentions to stream on Twitch anytime soon, because YouTube is just generally better. Or at least me. If you get monetized on Twitch, technically more income, and if you get a large enough audience, it's better than YouTube discoverability would be. But if you don't have a large audience already, then YouTube is better. You should still put the VODs on YouTube regardless. Okay, like diversification. But, you know, it stays on as a video if you stream on YouTube. You don't even have to do anything. It's just there. It's a little weird with the like scheduling versus not scheduling, because like you can't use the same stream key is the word, because otherwise it does it does it twice, which is really weird and was confusing, but now I know. I think technically scheduling it would be slightly better algorithm-wise, but hard to say. I generally get the thumbnail done like the day of, so it doesn't really matter as much, I don't think. But yeah, why not stream to both at the same time? PC limitations, also network limitations. So yeah. But yeah, also the other part of that is, I mean, okay, Twitch, YouTube doesn't really care. Doesn't throw a fit about you mixing the chats anymore, which was a really dumb rule in the first place. Like, very much monopolistic tactics. That, no, I don't want you to like mention this other thing for not even reasons of drama, but like, I don't want you to show YouTube chat on the screen, or especially not near Twitch chat, because like it could get confused as to what is what. But no one's holding you responsible if someone says dumb things. And if they did try and hold you responsible, looking into it would show that person wasn't on that platform. Not your problem. So, like, buck up, yeah. Come on, you can do it. I know you're not earning really much money, last I checked, but, you know. Hey, while you're at it, some actual algorithm sort of thing for discoverability other than having the most viewers? Because Twitch is very much a the rich get richer sort of thing. Just saying. Need this YouTube thing, an IT thing to kick off so you can quit your job and stream again. Same. Minus the needing my job to like, there is no other job, which is good from a mental health stress side of things, because that would go well. But less so from the having money to do things or stream sort of thing side of things. It's picking up-ish, kind of. So on top of that, and also then probably is doing the ASMR stuff soon, because I kind of figured out most of it, like I mentioned. I might just use a different hair color with the same eye color. I kind of like the, well, it's still there, so I can just pull this up. I like the eye color still. Like, it's nice, but I don't know. It's going for less of a, like, nice winter vibe and more of a, well, maybe slightly more traditional fox. More supernatural-esque, I guess, vibe. Or unnatural? I don't know. Hard to say. But yeah, same. Minus the IT, actually. Also not the IT. Dealing with chat is one thing. Dealing with people who I can't just ban for being idiots? Very different. Yes, I might have slight issues on the like pride eco side of things, but you know. Supernatural. If I don't read it aloud, you're just encouraged. So like, I will then. At this rate, maybe I will. Yeah. Maybe I'll send it to you. Yeah. And you have to listen to it. Yeah. Hmm? Do you think that, have we not learned our lesson at this point? I don't have shame. I really don't. Especially when I'm motivated. So don't think that I won't. Yeah. Yeah. Supernatural Vexing Gooner ASMR. That's not the name. There's a lesson to be learned. Yeah, that's what I thought. There's a lesson to be learned. Yeah. The lesson to be learned is don't try and trick a fox. There was a bit of mythology lore there, which I definitely am a fan of. Returning things tenfold. Good and bad. I can't be... Not psychology. What is the word? I can't think of the word all of a sudden, which is really kind of undermining my position, but I can tell when someone is trying to get me to do something by saying that I wouldn't do it, and I can tell when the opposite is true. I'll do what I want to do. Yeah? Mm-hmm. Yeah. I liked... Happy free. I mean, what? There's no other meaning to that. That one was on purpose, right? Like just checking. That one was on purpose. No. Why is there a period after I've known KC for over half my life? Learned anything, it's stop. Yeah. The bit ends when I say the bit ends, generally. I wouldn't do stuff that I'm not comfortable with, but there's a lot of things that I'm perfectly comfortable doing. So... Yeah. No, not you, Charles. I like taking things is a very brave. Is the brave the word? It's a very easy to have multiple meanings sentence. Like, you could be a thief or a kleptomaniac. You could be talking about another context, which is maybe more explicit. No. It was funny because I said doesn't like that sort of thing earlier. That's almost why it's more funny. I can't stop taking things out of context. My brain, if nothing else, learn this. My brain sees things from basically all angles. I am incredibly good at debates because I can see what both sides would say. I can see multiple different point of views. It's just inevitable. I physically can't see out of context. I physically can't not see out of context or like other context. Yeah, the multiple contexts. See, Joker's the same. It's just probably ADHD then, maybe, or autism. I don't know. Probably ADHD. But as to what type of ASMR I plan to be doing, I don't have the different types of ASMR memorized, but it'd be more of an RP type thing in terms of playing a role. I'm not entirely sure content-wise, because like it's obviously going to be talking. It's not going to be like... I highly doubt my microphone is good enough to do stuff like different props and stuff. Also, I mean, I can't even show you prop-wise because like I have the noise suppression on because I have my fan on because it's hot, but what is Doodle Bob ASMR? But no, if I was to give an example of like the type of ASMR, oh god, I need to not mispronounce her name. Is it Gigi? I forget. I do not remember name. It's been a long time since I've watched any ASMR. But I think it was Gigi. She's a fairly large ASMR creator, so it shouldn't be hard to find her. If you look up ASMR on YouTube, you're probably going to find her. But a fantastic sadist. Oh boy, don't I know. Yeah. That was the other idea behind like changing the coloration of the model and whatnot. It was a bit of a play on yin and yang, which technically is sort of slightly misusing yin and yang, but the general idea of how people think of yin and yang is like two sides of the same coin. So that was, it's kind of that, but less extreme than you're probably imagining. But I think I can... I'll look it up if I do this. Yeah, okay, YouTube. I don't remember what you kind of had this on there, but like, we're gonna look up. Alright, I forgot Annie's back. GB, never mind. GB? Gibby? No, she hated it was Gibby, right? It was GB. G-I-B-I ASMR. Like I said, it's been a bit. But what she usually does is comes up with a script. She does variety ASMR, if that makes any sense. I should probably take that off the screen. Kind of just sitting there now. She does variety ASMR, so she does a lot of things, but the RP section of it is she tends to come up with a character and write a script and then just play that out. Mine would be less in terms of like interactive, I guess. It'd be mostly audio. I mean, I've decided to use the model because like I like using the model. I don't know. It's not perfect. It's definitely something that I would 100% would rather have 3D to do in terms of being able to move around and like easier for method acting, I guess, just if what I default to. Easier. It's very easy for me to put myself in the role of a character, let's put it that way. Am I an alpha? Oh. I don't know. She's not a meme, though. Not last I checked. Let me move that again, because I want to not accidentally close. I don't even know what happens if I close. I don't think anything bad happens if I close the tab. For that, but I don't want to find out. Okay, but does this work? I think this works. That gets the link address, right? Yeah, there you go. Her. I'm talking about her. And should I pop in a home in an hour if you're still streaming? 07. How far are we in? There's a chance. Mayhaps. May still be. Need to drink more water though. I don't have. I'll have to grab more water. I don't know why. No, I know why I'm so afraid to like get up and leave stream in the middle, but it's a dumb reason. If people were gonna leave, they'd leave anyway. So. It also kind of feels rude, but like at the same time, if it's to get water, then it just makes sense. My brain doesn't always have the most logical of priorities. I'm aware. But you know, her videos which I used to watch a long time ago. It is, I think, been years since I've watched them regularly. Or any sort of ASMR, really. I think I can blame... Yeah, no, I can blame mental health for that, because I'm trans. Envy and whatnot, jealousy, all that stuff. So that was great. But they start up again. I mean, it's the same reason why I didn't really read stories with male main characters. It's not because I don't think stories with male main characters are good, it's just don't need that. When they're done that, don't need to relive it. So, although I typically can if the stories are good. But the other thing to keep in mind with fan fiction, which is basically what I read because it's free, I don't know why most of them tend to descend into smut, but they do. Like, I don't have a problem with them. It's just not usually what if I'm going to look for a story, that's not usually the type of story that I'm in the mood to go read, if that makes sense. A short interested you? What's happening? Joker's abandoning us because I don't know, his phone battery's dying or something. It's very weird. I don't know. It's kind of like a sus. Excuse. Excuse. The word I was looking for is excuse. But I was just thinking about why I stopped watching ASMR videos as much years ago. Which is because trans, and then envy, and then mental health. And then also it was the same reason why I didn't really read stories. You just speak slightly quieter. No, not quieter. Slower. And with better enunciation. Okay, yeah. That is. But it was the same reason why I didn't really read stories in the same time period with male main characters. Not because they're bad, but because kind of been there, done that. Don't really need that in a story as well. Not great mental health wise, but that's gotten better. So, rejoice. That is part of why I started streaming. I think I've mentioned that before. There's a lot of reasons I started streaming, come to think of it. I should probably put on chapstick, actually. I mean, it's not the greatest habit to, like, chew at your lips and, like, dry skin when that comes off. That's... sorry if that's gross for you, but it's the reality. So I should probably put on chapstick, so I'm gonna go do that real quick. Even if, like, ADHD sim-wise, yeah, it creates a different texture. But, well, you're just, like, advancing the chapped state of your lips at that point, so it's not really great. Same reason you shouldn't lick your lips, because it dries them out. Except they're already dry and you don't want to tear off the skin of your lips, even if it's like the top layer and then you have an open lip. It's very complicated. Not that complicated. It's just... there's a word. I'm sure there's a word. I don't know the word. So we're going to move on from that. What was I talking about? Right. So that's the style of ASMR I'd probably be doing. A, because there's only so much I can do with the model, right? Like, I can't really do props. This is one part of where being a VTuber is slightly limiting. But also, there's a part of my brain that doesn't love it overly much because I really want to do it in like 3D. Like in 3D, where I can manipulate the camera around and I can be in different places and whatnot, it's easier to frame it more accurately, I guess? I don't know if that's the correct way to say that. It's easier to translate the ideas that I come up with into 3D than it is 2D with the limitations that implies. There we go. Chapstick sucks? I actually kind of like chapstick. Only mint though. Only mint. I'm not huge on lipstick either, come to think of it. Lip gloss is kind of fun though. But yeah. Also, unless you live in like the Arctic or Antarctic, you probably don't need chapstick unless you're dehydrated. So just be hydrated. Is ruin for ASMR on its own, props for their own very meh. It can be enhance the story or something. Yeah, that was partially why I've gone back and forth so much in order to even use the model. But in the end of the day, even like if I really don't like the limitations that it would... there's a word come with versus just doing voice, then I just do voice. But there are some advantages as well. It's something to look at visually, which already not enthused with my options for background, and I will probably make a new one similar to the one that I use for stream thumbnails and whatnot, but maybe more in mind of like it's gonna be a background and change the size of some things, maybe some of the layering. More reason to figure out that color theme for that channel, I guess. But I won't know until I try, and I can spend literal years trying to come up with new iterations and things that I could do and things that I might like doing or that I wouldn't like doing and blah blah blah. It's, at the end of the day, at a certain point you just need to do it and then you'll see if you like it, especially for me. For most things, Like, some things I can tell I won't like it. Like, I can tell you I wouldn't like stepping on attack, right? No kidding. But other stuff, like a type of food I've never eaten, I don't know what it tastes like. I can't say whether or not I like it. There's some stuff where it's the mental hurdle of, oh, that's that. But, you know. Otherwise, I kind of have to experience it to know. Like, this is true of a lot of games that I play. I don't know if I'll like them until I play them. Because, like, I can watch footage of it, and that's one thing, but how it feels to me when I'm the one playing is the part that will determine whether or not I like the game or not, and will continue playing it. Like, conceptually, Deadlock kind of sounds like something I'd enjoy playing, but in terms of actually playing it, the movement is really what sold me on it. That and that they have incredible music and sound design. Don't love the balancing so much, which is why I have not played it as much recently, but there's a reason why I thought I could maybe play it on stream until I had tech issues that made it so I couldn't do it on stream because then I couldn't use the model. I could probably get away with that, but then also it's not as optimized as something like League because it hasn't been, it's technically not even out, is the point. But yeah. For ASMR people, they're just the ears part like 90% of the time, although doing something with visuals is always cool. Yeah. That's the other part, is I could technically turn that into a sort of kind of podcast, technically maybe, so it'd just be an audio component. Because like there's definitely some people that just listen with like nothing there, they just lay back and relax and just listen, which is totally valid. Everyone experiences things differently. They like doing different things, and well, there's people in, like, if you just take League, for example, there's people in League who enjoy different types of champions, different types of, well, different lanes or roles, different champions within those roles. They may have champions they play in one role or lane, which I guess is technically one role, that they don't like in another role, even though they really like that character, just because they don't like how the character plays in that role. Like, yeah, that's, I don't know. I'm not going to tell someone how to enjoy something unless they come into chat and say, hey, I really like masturbating to that, in which case, maybe, like, you know, keep that to yourself. I don't need to know. But, I'm a pretty big believer that as long as what you're doing doesn't hurt others or yourself, because that matters too, then do what you enjoy doing. I'm not gonna hate you for liking pineapple on pizza. I don't like it, but I'm not gonna say that you're, well, I mean, I might say you're heathen as a joke, because it's kind of funny, but I'm not actually gonna hate you for it or think less of you for liking pineapple on pizza. Sort of example, I guess. Ow. Oh, okay. Better posture, no doubt. Joy. Completely agree with your sentiment. Bien. Yeah. I don't know, I tend not to interfere with people and the things that they like. Like I said, unless it harms themselves or someone else. I mean, it's sort of the same as, like, I don't, like, I played hockey from, well, I skated from like 3 up until, regularly skated up until, from 3 up until 5 years ago. Should do it again, but there's not actually a 24/7 rink nearby, so was slightly spoiled living in Southern California. Another reason to move back to Cali at some point, I suppose. But And I played hockey from in or around 10 to like the beginning of high school. Maybe sooner than that even. I forget. I played it for a while. It definitely feels like longer than 5 years, so... Anyway, on to the point. What was my point? I had a point. I got sidetracked. Oh no. Right. High modern tradition of hockey is called chirping, which is basically, it's kind of like bantering, but it's more like a mental warfare aspect of things, which is very funny. Because there's a saying that I really like because it is very true. Soccer is a gentleman's sport played by brutes, and hockey is a brute sport played by gentlemen. Very funny. Because like there's like physical contact is allowed in hockey. You have checking, you can get more leeway in terms of using your physicality to outmuscle somebody, or center of gravity, but we'll get to that probably, maybe eventually. But chirping, which you're a Bruins fan, you know Brad Marchand, yeah, him, very good at it, but I've never really cared. Part of that is that when I play something like hockey, I am focused on the game. I've skated for long enough, I don't even think about what I'm doing in terms of skating. I just do it. But same goes for stick handling, yes, technically. But I'm just paying attention to where people are on the ice, how long has passed, because you have shifts, or maybe you don't know, but you have shifts. It's not like soccer where you're out on this ice surface non-stop, because you are using, it's more of a sprint with some endurance component than it is pure endurance like soccer. But that's why you have a team of like 20 people or something like that. But we're getting into the less important parts of that. So I really just don't notice when people do that. Trash talk, it doesn't really affect me. I don't care about it. I know what's true of me. I know what isn't true of me. You're gonna have to do really heinous shit to actually get me to react, and then probably the most I'm gonna do is just mute you if it's in a game or something. I just don't care. You can only affect how you react to what other people do, not what they do. So, I'm more likely to laugh at you for trying than I am to react how you want me to react. And that was something that was true in games and something that was true of when I was playing hockey, which probably it's something of a reputation for. Just very, I guess, business-like works. There to help my team win. That's what I cared about doing. Play within the rules of the game, not looking to hurt people, don't really need to show off. Just the most efficient way of what I need to do in order to help my team win. So, didn't do any fancy tricks, no fancy skating or stick handling or whatever, no overly complex strategy, just skate well, skate fast, be maneuverable, good center of gravity, and keep track of where everyone is. That's pretty much all you need. I mean, you need good hand-eye coordination too, which I definitely have. But stuff like that's never bothered me. However, if you start going after my friends, I care a little more. I care a lot more. Just how I work. And it's not a recommendation, by the way. It's not going to end well for you if you do that. I might have mentioned before, and I did mention before, tenfold returned, yeah? A lot of people go looking for trouble without thinking about what they'd get. It's usually not what they want. Most of the time it's kids. Kids can be dumb. Especially if they've only had an iPad to parent them. Yeah. Love YouTube. Cool platform. Not exactly full of role models for young children. There are plenty of people who are good role models, do great things, great people, but there's also a lot of people who create their own sounding chambers with very out there ideas, to say the least. So, yeah. I've mentioned that I like critiques. Critiques are good. You can't improve without critiques. Kind of off topic, but hey, the topic was done. That's been run into the ground, really? That's your questions, I guess. But other than that, I got nothing. Well, speaking of nothing, I need to grab water. So, you get a slight reprieve. Hey, intermission time! Yeah, there's no intermission screen. Sorry, I'm broke, so you get what you get. But I did make the animation that you can do in VTube Studio, which I need to redo because it's kind of janky. Yeah. Why water, you ask? Why water? Well, I'm glad you asked. As we know, if you were at the beginning of the stream, before the dark times, the prelude to the dark times, maybe, human body is made up of a large percentage of water. Don't remember the exact percentage, but it's not important. What is important is that I've been talking a lot, so throat kind of dry, needs to be lubricated. But 2, this is something I figured out not super long ago, but I guess it was a few years, but whatever. Your brain also needs water because I don't know exactly what it does. I think it's like, I mean, your brain's surrounded by water, obviously. So it's partially a keeping it cool sort of thing, because I mean, it's sending off electrical impulses. That's energy, that's heat. And electronics don't work super well in heat. They start breaking down, they work slower. Same is true of your brain. If you're dehydrated, your brain doesn't work as well. You will have slower reaction times, you will have trouble thinking of things, you will generally do worse cognitively than you would do if you were hydrated, which is why it's such a big deal. It's not even just the like, I feel bad and your body needs water, it's you literally have a negative impact on yourself cognitively by not drinking enough water. So even if you could solve a problem, if it came up, you won't be able to, depending on what's required, if you don't have enough water. So, that's why I try, especially when streaming, to drink enough, because I need to come up with topics and stuff. I need to like be able to keep track of, well, I mean, it's not the most active chat, so like, you know, grain of salt, but I need to like read it, comprehend stuff, keep track of where I was. Thank you, ADHD. and stuff like that. So, that is why water. Also, I don't have anything like juice, otherwise juice would be fine too. I just don't have any. So we have apple juice, but I don't feel like opening it. I'll just have it later with like a meal or something. I don't know. So, yeah. Not a doctor. I just know things. Random things. Ow. Ow. Like that having curly hair is curly and decently frizzy hair is very frustrating. Yeah, it requires a lot more care than otherwise. I really give it to it, but it technically does. Just no. I try and get tangles out, I guess. I'm not looking to have dreadlocks, okay? That's not something that I'm looking for. No. No, just limited energy. Will agree with the curly hair thing. They have pretty curly hair. Part of me would prefer to have less high maintenance hair. Well, you know, it's not a bad look. It is more complicated in terms of styling, though. You can still do plenty with it, though, but I don't have the energy for that anyway, so I guess realistically it doesn't matter, other than more complicated than just brushing it or using... Fly, can you... More complicated than just brushing it, and even though you could technically say you should do more than just brush your hair generally, even if it's straight or just wavy, but you know what I mean. And yet if I did, it would look much better, because, yeah. Especially after getting out of the shower, you can kind of see how it would look. You like it, just limited energy reserves. And money. And I'd have to do more research. It's a long-term project. Yeah. Yeah. Hopefully you've had better luck with yours than mine. Hey, at least I don't try and buy it on top of that, okay? So, like, I have that going for me. It could be worse. Yeah. I'm aware that's kind of like saying, hey, they only hit us with, like, a 250-pound bomb. At least it wasn't worse. You know. It wasn't a 2,000-pound JDAM, wasn't a tactical nuke or something like that, you know? It could be worse. It doesn't really matter on that scale because you're still kind of screwed. But, you know. I actually don't know how to properly care for hair. Oh boy. The first rule is the longer you grow it, the more high maintenance it becomes. Like, it's not like back in the medieval days where it's prohibitively expensive and generally you have a better diet than they had back then, so you can kind of get away with more. But if you really want to take care of it properly, especially with curly hair, it's like you go to like your hair oils, you have different types of conditioners, you have technically not even supposed to really brush it, you should use a comb sort of thing, so like it gets complicated. As to your question, kind of technically, but also not really. I've done less games in general on stream, honestly, because my PC is problematic. So I'm hoping that it does not die. So I'm trying to lessen the load I put on it. Part of that is probably just mental and anxiety and worrying about something that don't need to really worry about, but also it's also sort of literally dying. So the longer it lasts, the better from my perspective, because don't have a ready replacement, especially in this economy. But deadlock might show up in videos. I'm trying to do more of those. And that is something that I could definitely do. And there was just the new update, so I'm kind of waiting for the next big content updates, sort of. Mainly because most of the characters I like playing... Oh, one, I don't really have a character I like playing in Deadlock. I guess that's my main problem with Deadlock. I kind of like Celeste, but like not really. She's just left-clicking people to death with extra steps. Graves is fun for like the first 5 minutes, and then you kind of don't really play the game for a while, because like, I don't know if you know this. I'm sort of naturally aggressive when it comes to games like that. I prefer, like, okay, so in League, if you know anything about it, basically I play assassins a lot, and also Ari, who are more self-sufficient, can kind of take care of themselves, do some damage, have CC to be useful in teamfights and whatnot. And less, I'm gonna sit here and farm for like 20 to 30 minutes and then scale. Graves is weird in that early game, you do a lot of damage. Mid game, you're kind of made of paper mache and don't have a ton of mobility, although it's better after the movement speed up. Movement speed buff, that's the word, buff. And then late game, you're, assuming you didn't fall behind, you're basically God. Because AP, skills everywhere, zombies, hurt, pain, suffering for them. So yeah, I did play a lot of Graves, but they changed her. So she's not super viable with her gun build, which was a little more friendly to playing aggressive. Also, the items were interesting. Inhibitor giving you 25% extra weapon damage on top of reducing their damage by 35% is definitely a combination. Oh, and I think it gave you HP, didn't it? It gave you like 200 to 300 HP or something like that. Or was it 100? I don't remember exactly. Point is, game's changed a bit. I still like it. I'll probably play it soon. Whether that's for content reasons or not, I don't really know, because aforementioned reasons. But I don't see any reason I couldn't record it. It's not like I hate the game, it's just not something that I play a ton of. Because like also, League came out with League Classic, got the Plant, and just Modern League, if you want to call it that. Solo queuing and whatnot, which I don't know if I'd recommend that for sanity reasons, but if you like doing it, then it's fun. But yeah, so I haven't completely dropped a Deadlock. That was the slightly less long-winded answer to your question. It's just taking a break. How I tend to do things, which is, I mean, you can ask Joker at some point if he shows up again. ADHD. So typically, I will play a game and then I'll play a lot of that game. And inevitably, something will come up which annoys me with that game. Maybe I just played it a lot, maybe they changed something, whatever. I'll move on to a different game, and then so on and so forth, but I kind of have like a circle of the games that I play. So currently in there we have like League, I guess League Classic kind of counts as its own thing, CS2, Deadlock, if I want to count Umu I don't know if that counts, kind of. Neverness to Everness I haven't really played much of, and I don't think that I can record that, so that's not really relevant to the conversation, but Wuthering Waves probably not for content because it's just a little too slow paced. Oh, I did Valorant for a bit, but that's... I feel like Valorant and not playing Valorant at the moment is kind of self-explanatory. Yeah. I don't know why the game is so painful to play, but it is. I would not say that CS2 is a better game. I certainly hate the audio in CS2 in terms of footsteps and whatnot. Its spatial audio is just dog. It's complete dog. Ugh. Like, I had problems with Siege in the past because of its sound design and whatnot, in terms of... Yeah, I said that again. Because its audio was really, really unreliable, which in attack shooters is sort of important to know when people are trying to sneak up on you, or where gunfights are happening, or where somebody is in terms of they're like through a wall, but you're like trying to triangulate where they are through that wall other than just that direction. And yeah. But CS, I wouldn't so like you CS2 either. But playing with a group, it's gunplay is fun. I'll give it that. Even if I wanted to learn the 500,000 lineups that exist in that game to learn, I can't because my mouse is also dying. It likes to double click, which if you're trying to hold the button down to like throw a grenade at a specific angle while moving in a specific direction, it's sort of important to be able to pick the right timing to release it. Slightly problematic if you throw it too soon. Or, well, too late's not really the issue, it's more of too soon. Technically, it also sort of does it sometimes when just holding down left click, although that's less often, so... But yeah. TLDR, cycle of games. They're doing updates for it, but there's also updates for cool stuff in League. There's also cool stuff in Project Zomboid, which I forgot to mention. I don't know how much that would feature, but... I mean, my thing at this point is basically variety. It is by default variety because my brain only deals in variety. I tend to burn out on stuff rather quickly if I do it every single day. And if I was to do something like Deadlock for recording and streaming, and also I like playing the game, so then like I have friends that want to play the game, so I play it with them. I mean, that's what happened with War Thunder, because like, if you look back on the channel, for the first... After the first like 2 months maybe, because I had a stint where I was trying to do League and Valorant, it was a solid like almost 3 to 5 months, I want to say, where I just did War Thunder. And I've only just started playing War Thunder again, and that is almost 2 entire years later. So, not great. I've learned not to overdo things. Like any other Valve games, like Left 4 Dead. Why did I almost say Left 4 Dead 4? God, I wish. You need to hit 3 first, obviously, but Half-Life or anything? I do have Left 4 Dead. I haven't played it in forever, admittedly. It's usually better with a group of people. I'm still very sad about Evolve dying, which technically isn't Valve, but it was Turtle Rock. What other Valve games? I have Dota 2 downloaded, but I haven't played it. I don't know if I'd ever get into Dota 2. I honestly don't know. Some of the characters are interesting, but it's a very different type of game from League, even though they're both MOBAs. And part of the issue that I had with Deadlock is how they've balanced it up until this point, so... That and the matchmaking. Because, Alright, if we're gonna talk about pet peeves I have with Deadlock, it is that you have to choose a lineup of characters before you get into the game, and that there's a lot of matchups, especially because Guardians are genuinely worthless in terms of protecting you, that you just cannot play. And it feels very unintuitive that you just are supposed to lose, and you have to give up the Guardian within like 5 minutes maybe? If not sooner, depending on who you're against. If you're like... Oh, what's a good example? I guess, like, if you're Vindicta... I mean, Vindicta's gotten better, so maybe not so much, but... If you're like a really low damage lane, or something that doesn't have a way to deal with a... Well, the hell lane that is Shiv and Apollo, then, like, what are you gonna do? Say you have, like, I mean, if you have a Ram, like, maybe kind of, if they're playing it to not just do damage. But if you're a squishy, like, if you get like a 7 could maybe, but not really. If you got like a, what's her name, Hayes, and ooh, Venator is actually probably okay, because Venator is Venator, who's just good early, mid, and late for some unknown reason. I don't know why he gets to do that, but he just is strong at all points of the game. Not the point. Even Graves kind of, because like Graves has really limited range. So if you had like a Haze Graves lane into a Shiv Apollo lane, you're just screwed. Like eventually you'll be able to just AFK push on Graves, right? But if the Apollo and the Shiv want to dive you on your Guardian, you're not stopping them. And it's not up to you if you survive or not. Your problem was being there in the first place. When the game sort of tricks you into thinking, oh, my Guardian is there, I am safe. I've heard someone that I played with before has raised a point, which is technically how it's balanced, but I think is really dumb, in that you're supposed to protect the Guardian. It is designed for you to protect the Guardian, which is counter to literally every other MOBA that I have ever played. Which isn't a large number, granted, but or seen. So it's just like the tutorial doesn't tell you that. No one who makes content really tells you that, because it's more limited in terms of access than like a League of Legends. There's less people who can make content for it. Especially in this economy, as we've mentioned. Thank you. Conglomerate of computer companies who create parts that are overpriced now. It's great. But yeah, McGinnis is another good example. Oh. Oh, McGinnis. Oh, McGinnis. I don't know if I liked when her gun was more relevant, better or worse. I really don't. Because on one hand, her magazine is almost 100 rounds by default. On the other hand, she has a long reload, but like, she also has a heal. She has her turrets. And what else did she have? What is her third ability? I am blinking. She has her 2, which is her heal. She has her 1, which is her turrets. What is her 3? How can... Sorry, I'm gonna say that was trauma. I'm gonna blame trauma. I'm blaming trauma. It's the only explanation is trauma. Her wall that now spawns 2 turrets as well most of the time. Does it do it from level 1 now? I don't remember. At least you could break it. But yeah, thanks. Her wall, which is just, like, McGinnis isn't even, actually I think she is literally Satan at the moment. She is just one of the best characters, up there with 7. Still, he's just still up there. Never sees pro play, but he's still up there. Because all 7 needs to do to win the game is be in the right place with his ult until he can scale enough through farming in side lane and camps to just be God. I guess, sure. Why not? Not frustrating at all. But you know, McGinnis's wall and then her ult, obviously, being what it is. That is a lane. It doesn't even matter who McGinnis has with her or who you have with you. If the McGinnis plays it smart, you can't win the lane. You can't win the lane. Apollo doesn't have enough AoE or range to take out the turrets. Same is true for Shiv, because you're not going to use daggers on the turrets, otherwise she still just wins. And she gets Spirit Resist on her too, which means even then Shiv wouldn't do great and Apollo wouldn't do great. So those are my main problems with the deadlock at the moment. But it really just has come down to the fact that I don't really have a character that I like playing. There's no one who can really be aggressive, do damage, and have a bit of mobility, as much as technically everyone in deadlock has mobility, it's movement, but... So I guess more CC, a bit of damage, and range. I prefer mage-type characters, I guess, as part of it. I prefer mage-type characters to something that you'd expect to see out of Overwatch, where you're just left-clicking all of the time and it's tracking-based, which is a skill. It's a skill. It's just not a skill everyone's good at. And Deadlock is especially demanding in the tracking department. Huh. Especially if I don't want to aggravate my wrist, so... Stuff like that. Okay. Back to this. Put that down. So... yeah. I am curious what they're gonna do character-wise, though, with the next big update. Assuming it even has characters, which you'd think it would, but it's Valve. Valve does Valve things. Who knows? They're consistent until they aren't. So, my hope is that they had someone who, at the very least, is Fox adjacent. Not that I'm biased at all. There's no particular reason why I would like that in a character. Or that I like the gameplay of, but you know, if it was a Fox adjacent character, I'd like the gameplay, because if you're going thematically, that's... the character tends to fit the kit. That's why Celeste can, like, prance around everywhere. She's a unicorn. Even if it did mean that there was a bit there where she kind of became, like, the game's greatest voyeur and cameraman, depending on how you want to put it, because they do have a cat-based character that's Calico. So, huh. What was I? Oh no. I lost my point. But yeah. Lord gave me blessings with cat characters. Yeah, Calico is... I mean, her name, Calico. That's a reference. She's she was an assassin. There's a point where she started building more like a frontline bruiser for some reason. But she's supposed to be an assassin by design. And one of her abilities is that she can turn into her familiar companion, however you want to say it, who is a cat. And what that does now, unless they've changed it again, is it amps up your damage over a period of time until you can then like swap out when you want to, or if when it times out, which is a pretty long time. You also get move speed, which is cool. And then you'll do more damage, and yeah, she's not my type of character, which I know I said that I tend to play assassins, but she's also... She has only one ability, which is actually like an I throw out the ability, that's her bombs. She turns into a cat for damage amp and whatnot, and moving around the map and assassinating people, and then she has her 2, which is just dash on top of you with a heal. There's a lot of overloaded characters in Deadlock. Yeah. I still have gripes about Celeste's kit, because it's just... I like that they are trying new things. I've said this multiple times. I like that they tried new things. It's cool. I love Celeste's design in terms of the character, but her abilities... Her 1 just applies a debuff to them and does a smidgen of damage, which you need to shoot them, so you left click, in order to actually do all of your damage. Your 2 is a shield that gives you move speed. Actually, does it give you move speed anymore? I don't think it gives you move speed anymore. Or they at least nerfed the move speed. I don't remember. Which, when it breaks, which you can't recast it, which would make more sense. Like, Scion in League has a similar sort of ability. If he recasts it, it does damage. If it breaks, it doesn't do anything. It just shielded him. But if it breaks, it silences everyone around you, does damage. Wait, no, they removed the silence, didn't they? Or they changed the range? No, they lessened the range on the silence. But it still silences you if you break it on the character who, keep in mind, has a passive which makes them more mobile in the air. So she can just stay on top of you, because she needs to stay on top of you to do damage. But then her shield makes it so that you don't want her on top of you, but you can't really stop her from being on top of you. And then if the shield breaks near you, you get silenced and you can't do anything. And her 3 amps her spirit numbers for each character that you hit, but it only counts once per character in terms of... Yeah, so if you hit one person, and you hit that person again before the buff has fallen off, it won't add to it. But if you hit a second person, you'll get 2 stacks on the buff. So that's her entire game plan. And then her ult, which is just... It slows you when it hits you. Okay, it's a really slow-moving orb. You need to not miss, because it doesn't even give a refund by half on the cooldown anymore if you miss it. But it's really easily dodgeable, so you kind of need to hit CC or have someone else CC them, and there's not a ton of reliable CC like that in Deadlock. So yeah. And if you do hit it, it bounces between enemies who are in the area, and while bouncing, if it hits them, it slows them and does damage. And it's just... It's not fun for the person being ulted, because it's hard to get away from, even though they've nerfed... No, sorry. They rebuffed the slow that it gives and applies, because otherwise it's worthless as an ability. Because they can just scatter, and then, oh, your 2-minute cooldown is worthless. And it doesn't linger very long, because then people felt like they couldn't fight, which... Fair, like no one wants to sit there and time out for a long time. I get it. but she also kind of needs it to linger, otherwise it doesn't really have any utility. But even though getting slowed by it and not being able to run away, and it lingering feels bad for the person who gets hit, missing it feels horrible for Celeste because it's basically, for some reason, most of her power budget. I say for some reason, it's because she can't really have more power on her one, because otherwise she starts to become broken, because then she'd, your options are lifesteal, damage, range, it doing more damage on its own instead of with the on-hit. That's not great. The shield becomes larger, but it can't be too large because otherwise it doesn't break then, and if it doesn't break, you actually don't get utility out of it as Celeste because it's not really used as a shield. It like buys you time and is an offensive sort of thing because you want to silence them because you have to be near them, so you don't want them to be able to their abilities to lock you down. And items, I guess items as well, because silence does items. And then her 3 already amps her spirit numbers. It amps her entire kit, so it just gives her more spirit. Which is basically like AP from League. So you'd have to make it either larger, or it would hit harder, or it would have a lower cooldown, or the buff that it gives you would last longer. And there's not a lot of space there to buff any of her basic abilities. And then there's her ultimate. So she probably just needs a rework, honestly. Like and then, oh god, okay, and her passive, which in lower levels of play doesn't matter. People's movement isn't great. It's just fun, and it feels good even at higher levels. But at higher levels, she's just a movement god who you can't hit because you can't shoot her, you can't hit her with abilities, you can't lock her down because there's not really an item in the game that specifically works for her. She just gets closer to the ground if you use knockdown, and then she's off again because she just has stamina, that's all she needs, and she buys it. Oh boy, does she buy stamina. And then she can do really, really efficient box routes. She can cross the map with way less time than most characters. She's annoying as hell with the urn because of that, especially now that it doesn't show you on the map. So by the time you notice it's gone, because there's no notification really other than it disappearing off the map, then you're probably not stopping her unless you're already there expecting it. Because all you have to do is touch down, and then she gets a bunch of golden spirit buffs, statue buffs, and a bunch of souls, which means she's scaling, because she's also kind of like a scaling bruiser, because that's what she's supposed to be, is like a battle mage type character, except there's nothing that's really magey about it. It is not a well-executed design. It's cool, but it's not well executed. It's, in typical Val fashion, too efficient. It's too good at what the person playing that type of character would want to do. Anyway, Celeste ran over. Not that I'm still upset about not being able to really play her, because my movement's not amazing. I've never played a... what's it called? What is it called? Source game before Volcano. I played Half-Life a long time ago, but I've never regularly played and got used to the movement in a Source game. So, don't really have experience with that. It's fun, but it is something to learn. Source games are awesome. My only experience is Deadlock and CS2, so... technically CSGO. Whatever. But yeah. Ragdoll and CS2 will never not be funny. Done killed your mages in ARAM? Oh no. got rid of free mana. Rip. God, imagine playing Ahem, weirdo. The rune or whatever. Now I'm confused. But yeah, CS2 wasn't. God damn it. I don't know if it was me bringing it. No, it was me bringing attention to it. It was definitely me bringing attention to it. Yeah, no, it was. 100%. My fault. My fault. Anyway. But yeah, CS2 was the source game, but I didn't play that a ton, so. But yeah. I need to play some. It's like, that's what I need to do. I haven't gotten to play it since it came out, because I had a video to edit. Technically, I had 2 videos to edit, because I had the gameplay video from like 3 streams ago in League, and then I had the one that went out today, which is got War Thunder's background footage, because it just fit the topic. Next one, I don't know, but I gotta figure that out. I might do shorts next. I might just alternate shorts and long form videos. Which I mean there's like a long form video every other week. But especially because it's gonna be really hot next week. Or maybe I do a long form video this week because of that. Yeah, it's gonna be in like the 90s next week, so I'm not looking forward to that. Still no AC. Not gonna be getting an AC anytime soon. I don't think I want to spend hours recording and editing a long form video because it ended up being what, like 36 minutes? I was hoping for like 20, but it ended up being about 36 minutes, and it was good, I think, as far as topic-wise. It didn't feel like it dragged on too long, but I mean, that's for you guys to let me know, I guess, at the end, because I tend to watch long-form stuff anyway when I watch it. And, I mean, I'm talking about the stuff, so obviously I'm interested in it. So it's hard to gauge without experience what too long is, but I didn't go over topics that I'd gone over a ton, and I didn't meander too much. A little bit ADHD, it's inevitable, but it's fairly coherent and at least staying on topic, even if it's sometimes topic adjacent but still related. So there's that. I do want to check out Zomboid too though, so I'm not super sure. Zomboid's an odd game. It is fun, but it is also really easy to become tedious and boring. You make the gameplay in Zomboid. If you want to go hunting fights, you can do that. If you want to just subsist on the land, you can do that. And realistically, knowing my temperament and what I prefer in a game, I'm not planning to do a long-running series or anything. Let's just put it that way. Is it fun? Yes. Do I like it and have I been looking forward to Build 42? Yes. Part of it's because I'm like moderately obsessed with blacksmithing, and that's something I added in Build 42. So, yeah. But me personally, kind of thing, there's a limit to how much my brain sees Zomboid as interesting content-wise, because it's really like League can be slower paced. It's the fly again. Okay, never mind. Deadlock But kind of not really. It's sort of, it's part of the reason why I kind of didn't really like streaming it is, as well, one, wrong mentality when trying to stream it. I'd figure that out. Two, it's not got a lot of downtime. Like, especially when they tweaked the urn, it's just constantly you must go do this, and then you have to go do this, and then you have to go do this, and then you have to go do this, and then you do this, into this, into that, into this. And it's like you just have to be super efficient. There's never a moment to breathe, which is not my favorite. That's usually when I tend to get overwhelmed and overstimulated, so yeah. League is a little slower paced. Team fights are their own problem, but it's not like team fights in Deadlock are any less chaotic, so but Zomboid is a little bit maybe too slow. I don't know. I have this feeling that it's not going to be something that is super huge on the channel for streams or content, but I think it'll be something that shows up every now and then. It's a good variety thing, right? Like every now and then you slow down a bit, appreciate stuff. Zomboid is good for that. Would I play it every day? No. But every once in a while, you know, yeah, I'd boot up. I'd boot up. I had another thought that I wanted to talk about. I forgot it. Oh, right. One, if I had the money in my account to actually buy it, I'd probably just buy it. Two, if I could actually do content with it. IL-2 Korea is looking really promising. Those that enjoy War Thunder, it's a step up from War Thunder in terms of the sim nature of it, but it's below DCS, which is good. Also, it has good storyline potential. It's got really good storyline potential. So I want to do stuff with that at some point, but that's, I mean, the money's sitting right there. I have to put it into my account, which is more annoying than I'd like it to be, because credit unions and not exactly just an ATM around the corner. So finding where I can do that is the problem, and getting there as well. Especially this heat, not walking, that's not happening. Be very unintelligent. But yeah, Minecraft is another thing that is just okay. I am to a point very classically ADHD. I need things that I can accomplish in like short-term goals and some form of action. Minecraft is a really cool game. The Joker's obsessed with it, so if you want Minecraft stuff, he's working on stuff for that, but he has also got like half a dozen other projects, so you know. But I'll definitely, like, I might show up and and we're back, I think. Well, that happened. Don't know why that happened. Thanks, OBS. Or whatever was to thank for OBS randomly disconnecting. Whatever. Where was I? Minecraft, right. So hopefully. Right, no, I'll drop a link in like, I mean, there's the Discord where it'll definitely come up if you want to join that. But also, maybe a post or something? I might do like a post. I should be putting a comment below the videos and the stream to like kickstart things. That's technically just a good thing to do. I forgot to do that. Whoops. I like joining things. There's a burst of serotonin, that's valid. I don't know about sustainability long term, but it's, you know, depending on what you're joining. probably fine. Probably. No cults. Don't do cults. Cults are bad. But besides that, probably pretty good. Yeah. Ooh. Part of me wishes that I didn't have the dogs to feed. Just on a timeline schedule sort of thing. Because ideally streaming, I'd probably start at like 4 and then go until, or maybe later. I don't know. I haven't decided. No, probably later. Maybe. I don't know. Either a bit earlier by like a couple of hours, but not like midday. But yeah, it's not okay, not literally feeding them. I mean, the responsibility that is implied by having dogs if they need to eat. They can be annoying sometimes. They're not that annoying, and I'm not that much of an asshole. Sometimes maybe a little bit of an asshole, but not. No, I'm not gonna starve them. I do wish she would stop eating their poop, but can't really control that because that would require watching her every single second, and she is stubborn enough to just wait. But that's another topic. I know it's kind of weird because seems to do like even today does better in like the last hour or so, whereas for the first 1 to 2 there's like okay, play context. I have it set on my end so that I can see it shows what is it showing, like chat rate and views, but that's like total views, not concurrent viewers, because there's really no other option in YouTube Studio to have it on screen-wise to where I can see chat. Which is a little annoying. Like Twitch is nice, you can just turn it off, but I'm aware I can hyperfixate on things. Anyway, in the first like hour to hour and a half, 2 hours or so, it was 5. And then that's like pretty normal for like every stream I've noticed, but then as it gets later, like 7:30 to 8 starts picking up a bit. Which, if you think about demographic wise, when apparently trend more towards relaxing, it checks out later in the day. Would be more of what people are looking for at that time, I guess. That makes sense. Ignoring that it's also later in the day somewhere else at like basically every point of the day. But there's the language barrier and stuff. So logically that would make later seem better, but then also I probably wouldn't want to stream much later because then there's the whole like routine and occasionally having to feed the dogs in the morning too, which is why I don't. Otherwise I'd just not worry about having to wake up as early. But sometimes I'm the sole person taking care of them, so that I have to feed them morning and night, and then fit stream somewhere in there, which is why 6 o'clock works, because they eat at like 5:30. It lasts them through the night, and then they get to be outside for like 30 or so minutes, whatever, depending on when they get fed in around 5:30. Which one of them doesn't want to be outside, period, so that's not a problem. The other one is like in between, and then our husky has decided to mostly live outside for some reason, so don't know why, but sure dog, you do you. As long as she comes in to drink water occasionally, then fine. Irks and annoying sometimes, yeah, because like, dog, really? I'd imagine hopefully want to come in next week when it's like 90 plus, but maybe just have to put water on the porch or something. Is it still really a porch? It's not really a porch. I guess it's a back porch, so that technically, yeah, whatever. But so yeah, not too late. Because I probably wouldn't go later than like 10 usually. I mean, first off, phone battery only lasts so long. It's at 29%. Which is like max 30 minutes extra from here, I think. But I can't, I mean, okay. I could technically start earlier. Technically. But it feels weird to take like 15 minutes in the middle of the stream to feed them and then let them out and then get up again to let them back in and then close the door, especially if it's really hot outside. I care less about the cold because then there's less bugs too, but when it's really warm, there's also more bugs. And they like congregating in my room because airflow is a thing that the people who made this house did not think about. Which is great. Love that. But yeah, huskies love the outside. So, who knows, maybe earlier at some point, maybe later at another point, maybe eventually when I get a new PC, which who the heck knows when that'll be. Would certainly need to be earning more than nothing. But then I can get either A, so there's a couple of options. Right, behind the doors of VTube. You have two options with VTube Studio. You can use an iPhone, which is generally better in terms of tracking because it has the specialty Apple programming, or you can use a webcam. The better quality the webcam, the better, but that also puts a higher load on your GPU. So there's that. If you had a good enough PC, it wouldn't matter, but then generally, just iPhone's better. Currently, my phone does not charge while it's plugged into my PC because the motherboard is basically borked. It works for most things, but it doesn't get as much out of the CPU as it should, or the GPU as it should, or even really provide as much power as it should, which is rather problematic. Add to that that what do you mean add to that? What do you mean, Brain? No, just and then also it means that there's not a lot of, this is mostly a theory, power left over to send out to other appliances like my phone when it's plugged in via cable USB-C. Which should technically provide plenty of power to at least increase the longevity, which who knows, maybe it does still, but it doesn't charge it while streaming, and it's an active use. It doesn't even charge it when I'm not streaming and it's not an active use, so it is at best not draining it, I guess. As quickly, maybe it's slightly increasing the length that it takes to die, I don't know. But that was a lot of information that technically wasn't necessary, but was kind of cool if you enjoy nerdy information and statistics and stuff and knowing things, which I do. So, ADHD. The point is, would be able to get either a better camera, or a camera period, I don't even have a webcam, or a dedicated phone. I'd probably just get a new phone to use as a phone and then use the one that I have now for streaming, and then it would last longer while trying to stream. I don't know if it would charge. That's maybe a tall order, but it would at least last longer than like the 4 hours that I can get out of it now. So somewhat straddle the start times that I have, I guess. I wouldn't want to start too close to like 5:30 because then it's like the stream would just be getting into groove and then I'd stop to feed the dogs, which isn't great pacing wise, and everything is about pacing. in content creation, whether people say it or not. It's not that far from like cinematography, traditional cinematography. It's just decently different. But the same holds true. Framing, pacing, good writing if you're doing scripts and stuff. Generally having a good personality and being entertaining, humor, charisma, that sort of thing. It's basically just modern TV if you think about it. But I feel like 4 would be the best start time. It's far enough from noon that it wouldn't be problematic, because sometimes if I don't feed the dogs, that is when I end up waking up. Because I get distracted reading, most likely, and I'm up till like 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning. Oh, ADHD and hyperfocus. And liking finishing things, which is rather problematic when the thing you're trying to finish is a... let's call it middle ground of what I usually read, and which is like a 70,000-80,000 word story. I prefer longer, because can't see the average novel is like 40 to 45,000 words, so think like Harry Potter and sort of thing. I can pretty reliably finish that in a day. If I have enough time, which I do these days, I can finish more than that in a day. So like 60 to 80,000 or something around there, maybe. Hence why I mostly read fanfiction. It's free, and don't have the funding at the moment. Someday I will have a book fund. Someday. And I will look at it every single time that I do my finances and cringe, but I will look at it and it will exist. But yeah, so the point is getting distracted, caught up in things. Sometimes I wake up way late, and I generally don't even feel like eating until like 3 hours after I've woken up. Don't know why that's a thing. Maybe it's dehydration. Who knows? But generally speaking, till like 3 hours after I wake up, I don't really want to eat. So 4 o'clock would leave enough wiggle room, and also even if I did wake up on time, so like 8 to 9, then it's not in an awkward part of the day, if that makes sense. I'll get to that, but I will forget if I don't finish this thought. Right, so there's not an awkward time in the middle of the day, if that makes sense, is where I was. Because I don't really like limitations in terms of time and timing, even if it's artificial. So I don't generally play a game where I can only play one game if it's like League or whatever. So just one match. Probably just not going to play. I'd read or something. But I give time to like relax, watch videos, eat. And then at 4, if I did wake up at time, it's still not super long waiting, which 6 is kind of pushing it, but it's doable. But I wouldn't want to start streaming like 8 or whatever, because then I'm just waiting the entire day, and my stupid brain's like, well, but I can't do other stuff because I have to be ready for stream, and like enough energy for that. And then also I need to remember to move my wrist more so that doesn't become a feature problem. Not looking for carpal tunnel or anything. No. No, thank you. I'm fine. So that is my thought process on that you didn't ask for, but you damn well got anyway, didn't you? Yeah. Best time is like 4 o'clock. This is based purely on intuition and feels, which is usually how I do things. Usually correct too, if I listen, which I don't always do. tabling the warrior cast discussion, which I don't actually have much to add other than maybe will at some point, probably. I'm gonna have a lot of books to go through, let's put it that way. Good book is good book. But I haven't read them. I haven't read them, to be clear. I did not enunciate that properly because I tend to speed through words and then also get anxious and then talk quieter than I need to for streaming because there's the noise gate, thanks to you, fan, which, I mean, also thank you. You've kept me cooler, and it's good for the PC too. But, yeah. Best time, right. The best time was like roughly 4-ish. Yeah. It's like afternoon goes into afternoon, kind of touches on nighttime, but then also leaves time after the stream to do other stuff like play games if I want, or to read to wind down afterwards. Alrighty. We mentioned this, which I imagine get better with time. But donations when I get everything together enough that it can actually hit the monetization thresholds for the channel to get monetized. Because, like, I've thought about something like Patreon, but what value do I actually provide if I do that? Because I don't want to take money just to take money. I know to a point, like, yeah, need money. You probably get set aside at a certain point, but I don't like the idea of just like, oh look, yeah, I've got a Patreon, like, some stuff. Here, go for it. Like, I want to provide a value for the money, especially because it's like an entirely different platform. Like, what am I gonna do? Like, okay, that's one thing that annoys me a lot with like fan fictions is their idea is, oh, I'll put like, or like itch games will be like 2 builds ahead for games on the Patreon or whatever, and then the public one, which, I mean, it's a free game, so like you can only complain so much really, but like some of them are more aggressive with what they put behind a paywall, like features of the game which should probably not be behind the paywall. Like, if you're already just going to give the game for free, either just put out a demo that is like covers a set portion of the game and doesn't change, or, you know, not nickel and dime and like do the thing that so many subscription services do, where it's like, it's free, but you can only use this, this, and this, and you can't use this or this, and you have a ton of advertisements or whatever. Use Spotify. Yeah. So I need something that I felt like was actually worth putting. Also, it's not even getting into the fact that Patreon is kind of done with the rules at times, and also takes a non-insignificant cut. So there's technically better options like Ko-fi or whatever. I never really learned how to say that. Or maybe Subscribestar? I don't know. I've never really looked into that one. But there's better options than Patreon, and you should probably just not use Patreon if you're ever going to do that sort of thing. But I'd still want to provide value. Because, like, there's not really a behind-the-scenes portion that I do. If I were better on the terms of, like, script writing or whatever, then I could, like, I don't know, let people give ideas if they're like a patron, just to use the term, and whatnot, and then that could like decide themes or whatever and stuff like that. Or, I mean, YouTube does have the option for member only streams once you can monetize, but like, what would I do for that to make it worthwhile? I don't know. I mean, I guess Hololive typically does like watch-alongs, because those are shaky ground copyright-wise. on one hand, like, you're not actually showing the film or whatever, but on the other hand, a lot of things, and they kind of fall on like one side or the other. Either they don't want their stuff behind a paywall because it's like free usually or whatever, so they don't want you to paywall it, which makes sense because it's provided for free. Or with paid stuff, they care less or are less likely to act if it's for a smaller group of people. Partially because they can't really see that it exists. In terms of they can't just happen across it. Maybe in the back end or something, but who knows. But then also some of them maybe would care less if it was publicly available than if it was paywalled. So like, yeah, it's rocky ground copyright wise, but it's the best place for it because you can't really watch popular movie, especially considering it's going to have copyright audio. Almost inevitably, it's a movie, they're gonna have songs and whatever that they copyrighted or licensed something that is copyrighted. So it would be members only because they can't actually monetize it as you normally would on YouTube, except for if you're a member, then they can make it a member only stream, and then therefore that's incentivizing becoming a member, and they're technically sort of paying for the stream or video or whatever, like that sort of thing. It's kind of a wishy-washy, like, gray area, but it does exist. But YouTube membership would be the same thing as like I would want to provide value. So I have high standards, both for myself and others. Okay, higher standards for myself, admittedly, but still high standards for others. Not gonna pretend I don't. So, yeah. Questions will be answered in full. Even if you didn't know that the answer was fuller than what you thought it was. It will happen. It's just inevitable. Oh. Oh. E-stretch. Yeah, so. Now what are you doing? So sus. Where was I? We covered reading. Covered that. I still need to come. Okay, no, I also need to do the thumbnail for the podcast playlist. Diversification. Yeah. I think I had to change the name. And then I just needed to actually export the thumbnail then. I make my thumbnails in DaVinci Resolve if you're wondering. It simplifies most things. Most. Not all, but most. And then I have to make that playlist, which is mostly going to consist of these chatting streams, I guess, is the best way to put it, because it's something that would fit the category of podcast. And I don't know if I'd want to do purpose-made ones, or if I did, then would I like technically just make it a separate podcast? Because it's not like extra work would go into the streams being put into a podcast playlist. It's just the stream. You can then watch the video and footage if you want, or just listen to it on a podcast. as a normal podcast, right? Admittedly, I don't actually know what the hell the difference is in terms of a podcast, other than they were traditionally just audio only. So I'd need to do a bit of research with that. But my general understanding is it's you pick a topic and talk about it, but then you could also just have like a yapping podcast technically. So I don't really even know what the difference between a podcast and a stream is. Maybe there isn't one. But who would I do a podcast with? I would assume mostly on my own. But if Joker wasn't busy, probably Joker. And then there's the dreaded necessity of eventually doing collabs with people who I don't actually know and reaching out to them, but that's... oh boy. Oh, collabs. Oh boy. Okay, so... first off, we've covered I'm shy. We know that I'm shy. If you don't know, there's kind of the understanding in content creation that like you don't try and, I guess to use a medieval term, reaching above your station. If you have like, let's use a stream example, 500 average viewers, you wouldn't reach out to someone who has like 2,000 average, or maybe even 1,000 average, although you kind of maybe sell that. You'd want to sit more into the like slightly below or slightly above range, and then like slightly above gets to the point where it's like, oh, you're like kind of like gonna get accused of clout chasing and whatever, unless you can present a good argument on like why it's a good idea, right? Because you'd have to have an entire idea, then it wouldn't just be like, oh, let's play some games together. And lower, you're going to run into other people who are clout chasing, so you're gonna have to learn how to differentiate them. And then there's the whole fact that it's, you have to like research beforehand, because there are different vibes on with streamers, right? I'm more casual and relaxed, less fast-paced than that decent amount. Probably the average is more fast-paced. You just go do something, which I don't do. But we'll get to that. Don't worry, we'll get to that. It's you kind of like need to, and I guess we're getting to that now, because I was actually about to like sort of jump into that. If a larger content creator reaches out to you, that is different. But if you reach out to a larger content creator, it gets awkward, and most of them probably won't do it because, again, there's a lot of people that just clout chase. And then there's also the whole being reliable on the front of, you're not going to just drop slurs on stream and do stuff that would get you both banned and be awkward. So you've got to find the person, someone with the right personality that does a type of content that matches and vibes with yours. Whether it's you're purposely trying to create a clash or something that is similar enough and in the same frame of mind that it meshes together well. Both are valid, but depends what you want. And then also in the VTubing sphere, when you see that sort of thing, usually they've met them in either a Discord, a forum, or they're friends of one of their friends, which is why networking is so important. In streaming in general, or content creation in general, but especially in VTubing, which focuses more on communities than some other types of streaming, they tend to know someone who knows that person, or they know that person directly. Or technically they know someone who knows that person and they're in like the same area, and then they get talking with that person like, hey, I have this cool idea, and they're like, alright, yeah, no, that works, that's cool. And that's how that usually happens. Sometimes they just happen across, sure, by happenstance. It happens. Stance, I guess. I immediately jumped to using that again, but whatever. But yeah, done a lot of thinking. I notice things. Technically very aware socially. And I like picking up information, which is good because I tend to just pick up information. And yeah. Not always the most useful, but occasionally it comes in handy. I just also happen to be really interested in content creation on the content creation side of content creation and not just partaking in it. It's interesting. It's the same reason why I like people watching. Right? Whenever I do go out. Yes, I know, rare. But I do like just thinking of things, scenarios and stuff. Why someone does things that they do. It's also why I like stories and books so much, is you see so many different types of people in those stories, and you just get to take the journey with them, whether you are learning it, like they're experiencing along the way, or whether you find out stuff that happened in the past that was interesting, that creates conflict and blah blah blah. It's just all very intriguing. I mean, heck, one of the ideas I had for the ASMR side of things was either writing my own fables as like stories and whatnot, or reading ones that already exist, which again, gray area copyright wise. So that would have been slightly complicated. If I did do it, I'd just probably come up with my own. Not that I'm amazing at writing, because again, sitting there at the desk just typing, not my strong suit. It's up there with editing. I come up with a lot of ideas, but in terms of executing on them, like short stories, I could see as doable. But I'm not going to be writing a novel anytime soon. I mean, as far as things that I'd probably be better off creating, music is really up there. But that's the more complicated one, because you need something with MIDI to like input stuff. And there's a difference between trying to use a computer keyboard and a piano keyboard for inputting music and notes and whatnot. The flow is different, or it's becomes way more exacting and mechanical instead of musical in nature. Less flowing. So, but technically speaking, that would be the best thing for me to do on a creating my own stuff standpoint. I would probably do covers and stuff if I was more confident with my voice, but I'd need to figure out, most of the time I'm fine with it, and there's times where I'm really fine with it, obviously, but I need to effectively dial in every consonant and vowel and sound and whatnot so that it is consistent. And then also, I would have to learn how to use it to sing, because it is a different form of vocal expression. It's why people tend to have different singing voices than they would just sound normally. Usually. Not always, but usually. That reminds me, I need to get started on practicing with the guitar again. I may not be able to drag my piano into this room because it's... Spoilers! Pianos are very heavy, and it's in the other room. Probably technically needs to be tuned as well. And dusted. And whatnot. Have I mentioned my goal to one day just have a very large room that I can use for like motion capture and also streaming in general in 3D? That's like the long-term goal of goals, if you will. But yeah, be very ADHD friendly. I could just wander around doing different stuff and physically do it, which would be nice. Assuming, especially, well, I'm letting it. She's been missing from the content creation space for all, so you might not, but moderately envious of Phillian for being able to do that sort of thing. Not that I'd be doing backflips, okay, relax, but it would be nice, as someone with ADHD, to have a method besides moving my hands around, which you can't see anyway, to do while streaming. So, or recording for that matter. And I needed to practice with the guitar. Also probably tune it again. It's kind of boring, but I really do need to bother learning chords and not just music itself, because knowing the different chords makes it easier to actually write your own songs. Because, like, I know what sound I want, but finding it is rather difficult to do by trial and error. By rather difficult, I mean functionally impossible, because then if I hit the wrong notes, then it sounds wrong and I lose track of where I was, and then it's not good. So. Need to learn the chords, even if it's really, really freaking boring to learn the chords on their own. And then memorize them. Also build up finger strength and flexibility. No giggity, not that. No, that doesn't even make sense. Flexible fingers? That's no. Strong fingers will give you that. Flexible, not really. Is there anything else I'm forgetting? I don't think so. Ooh, 19%. Alright, well. That is probably gonna be it. Yeah. That is all for today. I did not have this playing right. Okay, good. That does remind me. How was the BGM for this, the music? Because I turned it up because I noticed when I checked back on the last VOD, it was barely audible. Which I don't want it to take over, but it should be audible. So I'm kind of curious. It was nice. Sick. I'm gonna check again because I want to see how it sounds on my end as well. It's kind of tricky to like test that on my end because I have to like. I guess it's less problematic on YouTube because I listen to everything in the same volume. So as long as it checks out there, that's like probably pretty solid. But there's different audio setups and stuff, so it's always good to get a second opinion. There's decent background. Nice. Let's go. Okay. Not that I'm obsessed with audio or anything. Yeah, no, not obsessed with audio at all. Not obsessed in the slightest. But good. Anyway, hopefully you guys enjoyed. Thank you very much for watching. Don't know if you're getting shorts or a long form video next week. You'll get something. The week, well, later this week, I guess, isn't it? No, I was gonna do something, I think, Sunday, probably in terms of a stream. And then I'll record next week. I will probably have a short from the stuff recorded today that I'll work on this weekend. But I don't really think I'm gonna be able to record next week because we're streaming until like the weekend. Because it's supposed to be mid-90s at the very least for pretty much the entire week. And little known fact, PC working, doing things, creates heat, and I don't have any way to dissipate that. So it also means that I'd be staying up later because I wouldn't be able to go to sleep because it'd be way too freaking hot until like early morning at the earliest, and that's with the windows open and my fan blowing air out of my room. So looking forward to that. Can't wait for fall. Oh man, yes, I get it. It's 10 o'clock. Thank you. That was a lot of information you didn't really need, but that you were gonna get, so you're welcome. Probably. If you enjoyed, I guess I should probably say this more. It's just a YouTube thing. Like, because then I know that you liked it. There's only so far you can get with like average view time, especially with a lower viewer base, which is like trending towards an average of mid to high 20s, low 30s, which is pretty cool. That's a step in the right direction. Love that. I love progress. It's so nice. But for statistics wise, it's not really what YouTube focuses on, so it's hard to get a firm grasp of what's healthy in terms of like average watch time, especially because it's a stream. Realistically, most people aren't watching a stream all the way through. Okay, I get it. Trust me. I get it. I tend to when I watch something, but like eventually I do want to do something because ADHD I prefer doing to watching. I get it. That's not a... Thank you, brain. Yes, that's... Nope. Yeah, that's not a reference to cucking. It's not... There's no chair. Well, I'm sitting in a chair, but like, I need to sit. So anyway, subscribe if you want to see more. There's a link to the Discord below if you want to know when I go live, because YouTube's not always super reliable with that unless you click the bell icon, which I forgot to bring up in like every video ever and also every stream. The bell icon matters because otherwise you don't get notifications, or at least you don't get all the notifications. I sometimes do posts, so that probably covers that too. Discord's below, it's quiet. Not necessarily bad, but you get notifications, which was the entire purpose of the Discord in the first place, because the alternative is Twitter. Enough said. Auf Wiedersehen. Don't worry about it. That's fine. Like I said, I don't expect people to watch all the way through. Appreciate it, but lurking is fine. I'm fairly decent at keeping a running conversation on my own, as long as there's an occasional interjection of a topic. Trust me, I can ramble. I can yell. I wouldn't really be able to do this otherwise. But, auf Wiedersehen, and I'll see you guys next time. Later.